This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnicky and as always I'm here with Jess Perkins and Matt Stewart.
Hello Dave, hello Matt.
Hey Jess and Dave, happy Blocktivus.
Wow.
Happy Blocktivus.
Week
I don't know.
3?
Happy
don't know what that
Blocktober
is.
Grace.
It's Block. We are having our Blockbuster-tober month. I think that was the original name, Blockbuster-tober. The month
best.
full of the biggest topics we do, the most requested, the most voted for. We're right in the heart of it now. We're hitting the midway point today of Blocktober Grace period. It is good. There is a certain little blockiness in the air, and I think everyone's catching it. And, you know, that's why everyone's staying indoors.
Yeah.
But
It's highly infectious.
it is highly infectious. It's gone all around the globe. Started a wet market in Wuhan, and it has spread around the world. But this is a positive one.
That's
this
right.
is Block.
I've got a fever and it needs more block.
Yeah. Hey, quick question. What are you two doing for Block?
Thank you so much for asking. Obviously, normally I holiday at the summer home, but because we can't do that at the moment, I'm holidaying in the summer apartment. It's beautiful here.
That felt safer or
Yeah.
to have more people around you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. I wanted my neighbours closer.
You've got a
safety.
summer and winter house, summer and winter apartment.
Yeah, summer and
just
winter.
the 4 properties? Is that all you have?
Oh, God, no.
Oh,
I've got a
thank
beach
goodness.
house.
Yep.
Spring camper
I've got-
van.
Yeah, spring camper van. That's just for fun. And we've also got a winter chalet.
Oh, and an autumn swag.
But that's really
That's
just
great.
more ornamental at this stage.
Yeah, right. Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm so pumped to get into week 3 of Block. This is the third most voted for and requested topic. And this one surprised me. This one I did not. Some of the others I'm like, I've seen them around a lot. This one I did not realize would be so big. Obviously, this is one of the few times where all 3 of us know the topics because we have to divvy them up to see who did all the reports.
Yeah.
Dear listener, normally if you're a new listener, we would not, the two not doing the report wouldn't even know what the topic is. But this week, Dave and I do know, and Jess is about to tell us all about him. Are you still going to start with a question?
Sure am.
All right, so I'll quickly explain the show for new listeners. One of the 3 of us goes away and researches a topic, usually being voted on by the audience or the patrons. And this time it is the 3rd most popular of all time, basically, or at least of all time of the topics that we haven't done yet. And I mean, that takes a bit of the shine off it because it's 250 something topics have been done already. But Jess has taken that topic away. She's researched it. She's written a report. She's going to tell it back to me and Dave now while Dave and I listen respectfully, quietly. Maybe we chip in helpfully every now and then.
No,
But only helpfully.
I'm going to mute my mic this week.
Okay.
All right. In fact, Dave, just take the day off.
Thanks.
And then you can just listen back to the podcast later.
Yeah, I'll get the info. That's what we're all here for. The
I reckon
info.
that's what will happen when inevitably the 3 of us have a big falling out, but we can't we don't want to stop the podcast because by
None
that
of us
time
are quitters, are we?
and we're making millions by that time. So we're just in it for the cash, so we just record podcasts separately.
All from our own homes.
Well, we have a big copyright infringement over who owns the name Do Go On. So then we have to come up with podcasts like The Do Go On or Dave Go On and stuff like that.
Matt and the Do Go On band.
The official Do Go On podcast.
Yeah, the real, what was the zombies? The real zombies in inverted commas.
Yeah.
The real Do Go On.
Okay, so yes, we do get started with a question. I know you two know the topic, but for anybody who manages not to see the title of the episode, because I know
A few
some people do
that.
try to do that, exactly. So for them, and for you, I suppose, the question is, who got their big break playing a man from Ork?
Oh, God. Okay, who could it be? Could it be?
It's either Mork or Mindy. Now, who played Mindy? Actually, it is Mork from Ork. It's not Mindy from Ork. So that means,
No.
Dave, I think, you want to say it with me? Robin.
Mork. Oh, no.
I think it's actually Robin Williams.
Robin Williams, that's
Oh, it was
right.
on the tip of my tongue.
So, I mean, there were so many topics. How many topics were put up for the vote for Blocktober, Matt? Do
Well,
you
I
know?
think it was the 100 most, something like the 100 most requested topics.
Right. And so the third most voted on was Robin Williams.
It beat out so many mysteries and killers.
Yeah,
and
all the things that people usually are really, really into. It's fascinating and
shocked.
pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool that they wanted a bio of a clown essentially. But
Oh, a clown doctor. Yeah, I went into that movie expecting something different. Oh, fun clown doctor. This is going to be a wacky adventure. Oh.
It's mostly good.
I had the same when I was like, oh, a bicentennial man. This will be fun.
This will be fun. Oh,
Hang on.
yeah. Look, he makes you think.
I should
But
have said
yes.
flubber. I thought this was going to be a fun family romp. My God, it was horrifying.
I don't even think I mentioned Flubber. It's actually so hard. I wrote this report and then I kept like thinking of more movies he was in. I was like, God, if I don't mention that movie, I'm going to get
So
killed.
many
So
iconic
many.
films.
Huge. And I mean, for people sort of our generation as well, by the time we were aware of who Robin Williams was, he was in his mid to late 40s. So going back and actually learning a bit more about his early life is really, really interesting. And I think I thought of him as like a stand-up who sort of got into acting and then sort of surprised people by being quite good at acting, but his story is actually quite different. So
Oh, that's what I assumed as well. Interesting.
yeah. So I mean, it's not crazy. Anyway, I'll just tell you in the report, I reckon.
All right.
But this has been suggested by quite a few people. It's been suggested by Libby, Corey Ines, Justin Nichols, Danny Bolter, Clifford Warren Logue Jr.,
Oh, my God.
and
I thought
Detective
Bolter was great.
Detective Herbert Covington.
Oh, yeah, you can't beat the detective.
He's one of the best.
Although the name before was an all-timer as well.
Sorry, I laughed out loud at it out of respect.
Yeah.
Can I say?
Oh, I loved it. I'm hoping he's got like a pocket square or whatever they are.
And a monocle.
A neckerchief. Am I saying these words right? You know that thing, that sort
Yeah, a cravat.
of scarf? A cravat. That's what I'm saying.
A neckerchief.
That can't be. Is that anything?
It should be. If
If
it's
it's
not,
not,
it
it
Yeah,
should
that's
be.
a thing.
Is it a
right.
cravat though, or is it a different thing?
Yes, I
Is it
think
a
I think I
neckerchief
meant
when
a
it's
cravat.
tied?
it's part of the dinnerware that I.
Oh, dinnerware collection.
Oh yeah,
Fantastic.
Dave's expertise.
Here we go. Dinnerware and crockery, apparently.
This is
So-
when by the stage that we're multimillionaires and recording separately, Dave's also got a side hustle, which is a dinnerware company. He's stuck so hard to the fact that dinnerware is clothing that he
Yeah.
releases a dinnerware collection, including a neckerchief and a cravat,
Yeah.
two separate things. In
Two
his
separate
mind,
things.
and possibly in real life too.
And two different price points.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big price difference.
I know people say don't at me, but if anyone has more info on neckerchiefs and cravats, because I won't remember this conversation at all. So during the week, if you do want to tweet me, I'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about, but thanks for the info.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's get stuck into the life of Robin Williams. His full name is Robert McLaurin Williams. And he was born in Chicago, July 21st, 1951. His father, Robert, was a senior executive for Ford Motor Company, and his mother, Laurie, was a former model and part-time actress. Both of his parents had a son each from previous marriages. Laurie had a son named Mork Williams, who was raised by his grandparents, so Laurie's parents, and he found out that his parents were his grandparents later in life and met Robin when Robin was about 8 years old. I'm not entirely sure how old McLaurin was, or Mac, but in photos he looks like easily late teens, early 20s, before he found out that his parents were actually his grandparents.
Oh.
Yeah. And Robin's father, Robert, had a son named Robert, and known as Todd, so it's a little bit easier.
Oh,
I
my
think
God,
I'm
this is-
already confused.
This is
I
a
know.
crazy family tree already, and there's only been 2 sons named.
Are you able to
know.
break it down real quick once more? Because my head just
basically-
felt like it exploded.
Robin has 2 half brothers.
Yeah.
So his dad has another son, his mum has another son.
Okay.
So all 3 boys were essentially raised as only children. And despite meeting later in life, though, they all remained really connected, despite Todd and Mac not being biologically related. They all
Right.
just sort of saw themselves as 3 brothers.
like a Brady
the
Bunch.
3 of them together are a Venn diagram, right?
Yeah,
and
because
Robin's
Robin's
the
the middle.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, so Robin was raised as an only child. And in late 63, when Robin was about 12, his father transferred to Detroit and the family moved into a 40-room farmhouse on 20 acres.
Whoa. Detroit is that's the big motor car city. That's why. And he works for Ford, right?
Yeah.
And he married a model. Did the model he married, was it the Model T Ford?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
That's huge.
Wow.
So
Robin's mum was a
Williams'
car.
mum was a car.
He's half car.
That makes sense.
It
That's
totally
why his brain
does.
works differently.
Yeah, because he's half car.
And one half brother was half car, and the other half brother was no car.
No car. But somehow they all just saw each other as family. Isn't that beautiful?
I don't want to take you back to the farmhouse with 40 rooms with
I
3
know.
people living in it. What do they got? Once you get a billiard room, a library, a ballroom, conservatory, what else is there?
And how many bedrooms do you really need for 3 people?
What's
Oh,
a
max
farmhouse? So I
3.
assume that, the cows would have one bedroom, the chickens would have a bedroom, pigs,
Goats.
probably another bedroom. Goats, of course, would have their own room.
That's true.
Sounds to me like the classic episode of Escape to the Country where there's 2 people wanting to downsize to a 40-room farmhouse so they can run an Airbnb as well.
Yeah.
Just in case our friends come to visit, we want to have 19 spare bedrooms.
I want to
Yeah.
be an old person in England. They all seem to just live this wild life. I mean, off the I haven't seen many episodes of that show, Down to the Country or whatever, but it does sound like what you just described is every episode of
Every episode, they
Yeah.
want to downsize and the house has 19 bedrooms and some stables.
Or you'll see House Hunters International or House Hunters Island Edition, where people are trying to buy an island. And you're like, yeah, I want to be an old British couple. They're like, we just want to get some sun. I'm like, you're going to burn. You haven't seen sun in 60 years. Now's not the time.
But imagine having that kind of wealth, but also being like, yeah, I'll go on this reality show that's played during the day. Like, I wouldn't want people to know that I own an island. Have some
Totally.
fucking shame. For God's sake.
Have some shame that you own an island. What a funny level of shame that would be. I mean, yeah, have some shame that you've got so much money.
You have such wealth
And
that
you're
you are
spending it
shopping
on
for an island.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Are
rather
you a
than-
commie, Dave?
Helping the hungry.
I mean, I've got an island,
here
but
we
I've also got some shame, so I don't talk about it.
Dave thinking buying an island's a bit much. What a commie bastard.
That's right. People shouldn't own entire private islands. Yeah. Yeah, I said it.
So Robin attended Detroit County Day Schools, an all-boys private school where he described himself as serious a student as you could be and an athlete, both things that were a little bit surprising.
Yeah.
Really good at sports, very serious student.
Right.
He excelled in school, where he was on the school's wrestling team and was elected class president. And with both of his parents working, Robin was partially raised by the family's maid, and much of his home life was quite isolated. He was by himself a lot.
Because there was 30 bedrooms between him and his parents at all times.
So even if they weren't at work, it's like, how the fuck do I find
You
them?
don't even know their home.
This is pre-intercoms and stuff. You can't be like, Mom, where are you?
Was his mum made by chance an old English woman? Whose
Yes.
catchphrase was, "Hello there."
That's right.
We just realised as Jess tells the story that he hasn't come up with any original ideas. He's just every character he's ever played is ripped off from someone from around the house.
Do they have a room full of magic lamps?
Yes, actually, that was one of the rooms. That was actually 2 of the rooms.
Wow.
They had 2 lamp rooms.
And a spare lamp room
I mean,
just in case.
the house is big enough to have a fucking lamp room.
I know, imagine being that wealthy. So the family moved to San Francisco when he was 16, which was a massive culture shock from the stiff private school that he'd attended in Detroit. San Fran in the 60s was pretty loose. So there he attended Redwood High School, which was a much more relaxed and easygoing than his previous school. And at the time of his graduation in 1969, nice.
Oh, yeah, don't forget that one.
He was voted funniest, but also most likely not to succeed by his classmates.
Wow.
What?
They got one thing right there, didn't they?
What kind of fucked up school has that award?
I know. Most likely not to succeed.
It's like on The Simpsons when Homer goes to his reunion and he gets most improved odor.
Yeah, maybe they weren't joking that much on The Simpsons. That's not that big of a stretch, is it?
That is so rude.
It's crazy.
Yeah, at my school, they just didn't tell me.
Exactly. They thought it, but they didn't let us know. And don't they look stupid now with their multiple properties and steady jobs? Idiots.
Some of them probably have islands.
After graduating from high school, he enrolled in Claremont Men's College to study political science. It was an all-men's school, and the only opportunity to mingle with girls was in theatre. So Robin decided to try an improv theatre class because that's where the ladies were.
I mean, we've all enrolled in a drama degree to meet people, so.
And how'd that go for you, Dave?
Fantastic. Married with 9 children. So
study drama. He was totally sucked in and he loved theatre and he stopped attending his political science classes. He was just hanging out in the theatre rooms. So his father was like, I'm not paying for classes you're not going to. So they agreed that Robin would go back home to Marin, where his parents were, and attend a local junior college. So he did that and he attended the College of Marin, which is a community college, and studied acting full-time. And this is a nice little thing from Wikipedia. It says, according to College of Marin's drama professor James Dunn, the depth of the young actor's talent became evident when he was cast in the musical Oliver as Fagin. Williams often improvised during his time in the drama program, leaving cast members in hysterics. Dunn called his wife after one late rehearsal to tell her Williams was going to be something special.
That is nice. I did think you were going to say that he improvised during the musical of Oliver, which you cannot do. You cannot.
Why not?
The live orchestra trying to keep up with you because you're just making it up.
He's beatboxing and they're like, please.
Every other cast member's like, mate, come on. I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, a time machine. All right. Yeah.
Space jump. Yes, and.
Yeah. Robin, we've rehearsed this for 12 weeks.
Can you just do the fucking lines, please?
Charles Dickens not good enough for you. Okay. But that is nice. So the professor remembers him being so good that he made a call to his wife saying, holy
this kid's
shit.
something special, yeah.
And now I get what you were saying, Bob, about him getting into acting later, but he was in acting before comedy.
He goes even further because he and some of his classmates were invited to perform a Western-style version of The Taming of the Shrew at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival to wild success. They had rave reviews, they won awards, they had a Royal Command performance, and it was a massive time for all of these wide-eyed young performers. It was huge. One of his classmates is interviewed in this documentary that I watched, which a great deal of this report, a lot of the information came from that. It's a great doco. And one of his friends and classmates is talking about it, and he was just sort of saying that it's an opportunity that comes around once in a lifetime if you're lucky. And it was so nice hearing him talk about it. And I was like, yeah, there's so many things that, even the three of us have got to do that we totally take for granted that I hope we look back on when we're old and go, fuck, that's pretty cool that we got to do stuff like that. Because at the moment you're just like, yeah, it's normal. It was just nice seeing him talk like that. It was really cool. In 1973, Robin moved to New York to attend the Juilliard School. Robin and Christopher Reeve started at Juilliard together as advanced students. So they came into about second or third year, I think, and sort of joined that class based on their previous experience.
I cannot tell you how hard it is to get into that. He must have been so talented.
He's very good.
I think they have thousands of people audition for a class each year, right? It is
Yeah.
like one of the most prestigious in the world. So
Yes.
he must have been extremely naturally talented.
Very good. And Christopher Reeve remembered his first impression of Robin when they were new students at Juilliard. He said he wore tie-dye shirts with tracksuit bottoms and talked a mile a minute. I'd never seen so much energy contained in one person. He was like an untied balloon that had been inflated and immediately released. I watched in awe as he virtually roamed off the walls of the classrooms and hallways. To say that he was on would be a major understatement. That's his first impression of him.
That feels like, that adds up to me.
Yeah,
From
that
what I
sounds
know
about
of him.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I've seen, yeah.
So he's just
that sounds about
always
right.
been that way. Interesting.
Yeah. So what followed were intense classes in which John Houseman worked his students hard in order to get the best out of them. Robin described it as moments of, great, this is amazing, and moments of, what the hell am I doing here? Would have been so intense. But he also talked about being taught, this is Robin, talked about being taught to pay attention to things on a different level, things like movement, your vocals, acting, and getting a great set of tools to work with. And in the documentary, he mentions doing a bit with a hat pulled down, and when he moved his eyebrows, it would pop up. And he described seeing their teacher, John Houseman, laugh and how thrilling it was for him. And he mentions that kind of thing in relation to a few different people. It's like he talks about his father watching TV, and his dad was a hard laugh, but something on the TV made him really laugh, and he was kind of like, oh, how do I make dad laugh like that? And he talks about it with his mum as well, and mucking around trying to make her laugh, and now the teacher too. So I think like it's a recurring thing throughout his life that sense of validation by getting people to laugh is like what he's always chasing.
Right. Can you, so you two drama types, can you fill in the non-drama-ish people? The Juilliard School, I've heard about a lot. Why is that so prestigious and hard to get into? That's not the method one? Which one is that?
Oh, it's
What's
just
its
like a
deal?
performing arts sort of like a academy. So people like also, study cello and things like that there. But it's just at such a high level, really great teachers. Like if you look at like their alumni, it's like really a lot of very famous people have gone through there. But I think it's also, there's like limited places. I don't know. I've got no idea. But like here in Australia, our big drama schools, they'll take like 20 to 30 people each year.
Yeah.
And they'll
hundreds,
have a couple
maybe
of thousand
thousands.
will like audition for NIDA, our biggest one. But over there, I think because so many more people, the stakes are even hard, more against you. So that he got in is, especially as an advanced student too. I didn't realise that, Jess, that he'd joined other people that had already been studying the acting, and they obviously think he's good enough to join people who've already been doing it a year and just sort of seamlessly transition into it. That's pretty impressive.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, NIDA you hear about a bit. That's the West Australian one, right?
No, that's the
Night is
Sydney
in
one.
Sydney.
Oh, what's the Western? There's a big one in Perth as well. Maybe.
There's WAPA, the Western Australian Performing Arts. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Whopper.
fantastic.
And then
Whopper
the
NIDA.
Victoria, and the one here is VCA. So there are three, Victorian College of the Arts. So there's three. They're the three big in Australia. But over there, it's just, again, with so many more people, I think it's pretty cutthroat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's some really great anecdotes from his teachers at Juilliard. These were just on Wikipedia, which is great. So there's this one here. It says they had a class in dialects taught by Edith Skinner, who Christopher Reeve said was one of the world's leading voice and speech teachers. And according to Reeve, Skinner was bewildered by Robin Williams and his ability to instantly perform in many different accents.
Oh, that's cool.
Their primary acting teacher was Michael Kahn, who was equally baffled by this human dynamo.
Love that phrase.
Isn't that good? Williams already had a reputation for being funny, but Kahn criticised his antics as simple stand-up comedy. In a later production, Williams silenced his critics with his well-received performance as an old man in Tennessee Williams' Night of the Iguana. Reeve wrote, "He simply was the old man." Yeah, that's acting. I was astonished by his work and very grateful that fate had thrown us together. So, it's funny seeing that he was voted most likely not to succeed, and then a few years later his teachers are in awe of him. That's kind of cool. And in fact, Robin left Juilliard during his junior year in 1976 at the suggestion of John Houseman, who was in charge of the drama program, who said there was nothing more Juilliard could teach him.
Wow.
Wow.
Is that him?
Yeah.
Is that him like being polite, going, "Can you're distracting everyone? Can you leave?" We don't have anything more for you.
It's not for you. Well, another teacher apparently said that Robin was a genius and that the school's conservative and classic style didn't suit him. So maybe it is a bit like you don't really. Well, it's not that you don't belong here. I don't know. Yeah, they're just saying you don't. There's nothing more we can teach you here, which is pretty fucking crazy. So once he left Juilliard, he returned home and started doing improv comedy in what he describes as a response to not getting acting work. He just wanted something to do. So from improv, he moved pretty smoothly into stand-up and he started performing in San Francisco in 1976. And he worked as a bartender at a comedy club called Holy City Zoo so that he could get up on stage and perform. He just got a job bartending so he was around.
And when you say up on stage, you mean up on the bar?
Yes. Yeah, he would dance on the bar like Coyote Ugly. It was very sexy.
I can see that. He'd go all in on something like that.
He'd go too far, yeah. And this is where he met Valerie Velarde, who was a waitress who was finishing her master's in dance at Mills College. And they fell in love. After about 6 months in San Francisco, though, Robin moved to LA and he started to perform at the Comedy Store where names like David Letterman and Andy Kaufman were appearing. Like it was kind of a really big time in LA in comedy. And Dave Letterman describes feeling like he was clinging onto the microphone for dear life and Robin was a guy who could levitate. Because there was one night where the mics cut out for some reason. And everyone else was sort of like, oh, fuck. And then Robin just sort of went into the audience. And he says something like, I knew how to project because I'd been trained to be loud. And so he just performed and he absolutely killed it. And all the other comedians are going, fuck. And, yeah, Dave Letterman was talking about feeling like he'd come to LA at exactly the wrong time because he couldn't keep up with Robin. So,
the town is famously you can only have one successful comedian at any one time.
Yes, especially types like Robin Williams and David Letterman, who are so similar.
Yeah, that's right.
In style, delivery, everything.
Both real deadpan, sarcastic.
Imagine Robin Williams hosting like a late night show. He'd be a nightmare.
Wow, the monologue might actually be good.
Yeah, but imagine him interviewing.
Yeah, fair enough.
It was fun. Probably a fun interviewee.
Yeah. You just have to let him go.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'd have to be the type of interviewer that can just go with whatever they're throwing at you.
Yeah, you probably don't have to say all that much as an interviewer, probably.
Yeah. So he's in LA and he's dating and living with Elaine Boosler, who's also a comedian. And she describes knowing that Robin was seeing other people, but she didn't really mind. But other comics were worried for her and kept telling her, he has a girlfriend in San Francisco, which she asked him about and he denied. But shortly after he and Elaine broke up, Robin married Valerie in June of 1978.
Okay.
But it's the 70s and in these interviews in the doco, everyone seems fine with it. Even though I was like, okay, but they don't seem to care. So it's like, all right, well, you do you.
It's a culture thing. You don't get it. You don't get it. This is San Francisco. This is LA. This is La La Land. This is Tinseltown. Things are done differently around there, Jess. They don't care about your little virgin rules.
Yeah, those are my virgin rules. I'm just saying. I literally said that's cool.
Yeah, okay, Jess. You made a bit of a scene now.
Calm down, Jess.
Yeah, we're going to have to ask you to leave.
In 1977, Gary Marshall, who produced Happy Days, and you'd know Gary Marshall too. You would know his face, and he has often played a producer type person. So he was a producer of Happy Days, and he asked one day why his son Scott wasn't watching Happy Days anymore. He's like, why aren't you watching Happy Days? And Scott, who had become fascinated by Star Wars, said, there's no spaceman on it. So Gary goes into the writer's room and says, Scotty wants a spaceman.
What is this, Sidney Sheinberg's brother?
Yes.
We found a new one, Gary, and his name's Gary as well. This guy,
Gary Marshall.
So
I've looked up his image. I do know him. Yeah.
And so you can hear him saying it. And Gary Marshall's sister, Ronnie, was also working on the show. She was in charge of casting, so she suggested a comedian she'd seen perform. So they brought in Robin for an audition, and when he was asked to take a seat at the audition, he immediately sat on his head on the chair, like he sat upside down, and Marshall cast him on the spot.
That's our spaceman.
That's our spaceman.
This guy's from another planet. You're hired.
Well, you're not. You are spot on, because a comment that Gary Marshall made about it later on, he said that Robin Williams was the only alien who auditioned for that role.
And we had to give it to him by default.
Gary Marshall also directed a lot of big movies. Pretty Woman, Beaches, Runaway Bride. They're all romantic comedies by the look of it. Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah. He's a
Never Been
Diaries.
Kissed.
Princess Diaries. Genovia.
Yes.
We love it, Jess.
Mother's
He's
Day.
in Never Been Kissed, but I don't know if he's directed or produced that one as well.
Yeah, right. It's a real
But he
rom-com
plays
man.
he plays this kind of person. Like he
Right.
plays this hard ass owner or editor of a newspaper. It's
with the real shiny white teeth. He's got
yes.
perfect teeth, man.
Yeah, and he's got a very recognizable voice. If you can't picture him, Google Gary Marshall and you'll go, oh yes. So Robin's brought in for an episode of Happy Days in which an alien named Mork attempts to take Richie Cunningham back to his planet of Ork as a human specimen, but his plan is foiled by Fonzie.
Hey.
In the initial broadcast of this episode, it all turned out to be a dream that Richie had, but when Mork proved to be so popular, the ending in the syndicated version was re-edited to show Mork erasing the experience from everyone's minds, thus meaning the event had actually happened and wasn't a dream.
So in Happy Days, aliens exist.
Yes.
Love it. I didn't know. I didn't realize it was a spin-off. Amazing.
Yeah. So by chance, ABC had a series fall through and they needed to fill a slot. So they scrambled to put something together. So they decided to give Mork a spin-off.
That's
So
cool.
there had been another show called Sister Terry about a tough-talking former gang leader turned nun,
Love that.
starring Pam Dorber as the titular character, Sister Terry. So Gary Marshall took footage from Sister Terry and from Robin's scenes in Happy Days and spliced them together to create a pilot and came up with a show about a spaceman living with a human woman. Literally didn't even film anything. He just spliced these shots
that
together.
didn't air, did it?
No, I'm assuming that would have just been
Baffling.
to the bosses.
Yeah, right.
It's like, what's going on here?
They're clearly not in the same room, these two having a conversation.
Well, Pam Dorber didn't even know she'd been cast in the show until she read about it in the paper.
Imagine,
and she was like, this sounds shit.
Imagine getting your TV show up on network television because a spot opened up and they just rushed the thing together. You'd think there'd be so much work leading up to every show getting made. Oh, we were rejected over 10 years. This is like, just whack something together and we just took a free spot. Like it's a community radio station or something.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a spot free. So, we put our hands up.
And maybe stuff like that happens more where they do have to kind of scramble to put something together. Surely there's a little more work than, just splicing two bits of film together. But those shows don't last. But This one did. So apparently Robin's manager called him to tell him about it and said, we've got 22 shows guaranteed. You'll get paid $15 a week. And Robin's stoked. He's like, $1,500. Yes. He'd never made so much money. And then his manager was like, no, 15,000. He was like, $1,500 a week? Yes.
You're going to get paid $15 a week. $15 a week?
Sweet.
He hits the town straight away.
$15,000.
I'm going to buy a
week.
hammer.
And he's getting that per week.
Yeah,
Wow. That's
I know.
big. If you're happy with 10% of that, imagine your wage just went
I
up.
know. So Gary Marshall's son, Scott, the one who wanted a spaceman, he tells this really great story in the doco about how Robin would be improvising and be so physical on set, and Gary Marshall would ask the camera guys if they got it. But with 3 fixed cameras, the camera guys would be like, he didn't come by here. And Gary would be like, this guy's a genius. We have to capture what he's doing. And they'd be like, if this guy's a genius, he could hit his mark.
Yeah.
They're just like, I just sit here. This is where my camera is.
What
I
did
don't
he
know what
learn
to
at
tell you.
Juilliard? How to raise a hat with his eyebrows? How to stand on a mark?
Not to hit a mark. Doesn't know how to hit his mark. So Gary brought in a fourth camera just to follow Robin, and that has since become the standard format for sitcoms, is 4 cameras. And that's because Robin Williams was so physical and so hard to predict that they just had to have someone specific to follow him.
That's smart.
It's kind of crazy.
It's funny when you, like, it seems obvious now. I love those things that are like, yeah, obviously they just have a camera following him. But someone had to invent that.
Yeah, someone had to think of that.
Yeah.
So despite the concept sounding very dumb, and like I said, Pam Dawber was like, this sounds terrible, Mork and Mindy was immediately popular. The Nielsen ratings were very high. It was ranked at number 3 behind Laverne and Shirley and Three's Company, which were also both on the ABC. And Happy Days was number 4. It outranked the show it was a spin-off from.
Wow.
And that's insane.
That's cool.
At its peak, it had a weekly audience of 60 million people.
Whoa.
2 Australias and a bit.
Wow.
2 and a bit Australians.
Yeah, whacking a bit of New Zealand in there too. Wow.
Yeah, come on in, New Zealand.
Please,
So
we like you.
Please.
Can we come and visit you as well? Oh, I can't wait. They're starting to make deals. Not for Melbourne people, but
God, no.
yeah. I want to go visit New Zealand or anywhere. Anyway.
I'd like to just even be able to go to the beach, which is like maybe half an hour away.
For people listening in the future, we're still in COVID-19 lockdown.
Yeah.
In case you're like, what, just go.
That was a distant memory, hopefully. One day.
Doesn't feel it. So 60 million people watching.
Crazy.
I can't get my head around that.
He's just become very quickly a star. Wow. He's a star.
60 million people. Now, how many people is that in Olympic pools?
1.
Whoa. That's
They're
a
really
densely
big.
filled pool. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a small pool. His stand-up career is also going really well. He'd go from the set of Mork and Mindy to the Comedy Store to perform, and then to the Improv as well. He'd work a full day filming the sitcom and then do multiple gigs a night, 5 or 6. He was appearing on talk shows. He was partying in Hollywood. He was hanging out with big-name stars like Richard Pryor and Robert De Niro and Andy Warhol and John Belushi. I saw a picture of him with Andy Warhol, and I was like, well, I got to put that in there because that's insane. It's just like Robin and his wife just sitting next to Andy Warhol at a club, and I was like, that's a strange photo. But
Wow.
I love it. So by the second year of Mork and Mindy, Robin was using heavy drugs pretty regularly. He was partying, drinking, using drugs, sleeping with women. His wife Valerie in the doco says, he loved women and I got it and I wanted him to have that. But I also wanted him to come home. I guess her concern is more for his well-being in terms of being out.
She sounds like a
super
real
late.
nag.
She is a nightmare.
I want you to come home.
She's honestly like one of the coolest ladies I've ever seen. Like, she seems so great. She's really cool.
Do anything, just come home occasionally.
Yeah. And it really did seem like it was more like to get some rest. Like, you should, she wasn't too worried about anything else, which is very cool. There'd be times that he was looking pretty rough on set, and his co-star Pam would say she knew he'd been out till 3 or 4 a.m. But his career kept growing, and in 1980 he scored his first starring role as the titular character in Popeye. The film was not good.
Oh no.
And they only used like a tiny clip of it in the doco, and I was like, oh, I hate that.
I think I saw it as a kid, maybe. It was one of those ones.
It looks shit.
It was just in a dusty corner of a video shop for Blockbuster or
Yeah.
something. Like, Popeye, a movie. Cool. Oh, this is weird.
Yeah, it looked a bit strange.
Also, I believe the debut, or if not one of the early films of future Brendan Fraser collaborator Linda Hunt.
Yes.
We talk about
No
often
way.
on Phrasing the Bar.
This came up on a recent Phrase in the Bar, and one of us said it, and the rest were like, what? Popeye the movie?
That's why I thought it stuck out of my mind so much. I did not even know it existed until that moment.
Yeah, and it wasn't good, but Robin's performance was seen as great. He was still, regarded very well, but still, the movie being a flop, he felt as if his dreams of being a movie star might not be the most promising dreams. He was like, okay, well, maybe not. A couple of years later, during the 4th season of Mork and Mindy, Pam Dawber had the difficult task of telling Robin that his close friend John Belushi had died the night before from an overdose. Robin had been with John in his bungalow at the Chateau Marmont, And the news that his friend had died only hours after he'd been with him was a massive shock for Robin. Robin said, here's this guy who was a beast, who could do anything, and he's gone. And that sobered the shit out of me. So seeing his friend die from an overdose was a massive turning point for Robin in terms of his own drug use, and he stopped partying and using drugs to the extent that he was.
Okay.
It's not a great step, but he really backed right off.
I don't do them on Wednesdays anymore.
Okay. That's a rest day. Got to have rest days.
That is smart. I mean, it would be like, yeah, I think about that sometimes. Like, imagine living in a world where there's no, he has a job. He has to get up to work, and that's not stopping him. That would make, and you like partying, that would make it hard. Like, if you've got a day job where you can't rock up like that in a bad state, it keeps you go, well, I can only party on the weekends. But musicians, for instance, it's almost encouraged to do it while they're performing.
Yeah.
That would be, you see why it's such a big trap.
And why there's a lot of drinking and stuff in comedy as well, which he talks about too, that it's around you. So you do just kind of do it.
Yeah, drinking at work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not normally at bars. Like, often our pay is a beer, isn't it, Jess?
Yeah, free drink.
Oh, you get 2 drinks tonight. All right.
Ooh.
Things are looking up.
It was around the same time that Robin learnt that Mork and Mindy had been cancelled, and he was really fearful of what the future held for him. And he and Valerie had enjoyed the party life of Hollywood, but they felt like it was no longer for them, so they decided to go back to Northern California. So they moved to a ranch outside of San Fran, and they started a family. Their son Zachary was born in 1983 and was served by Christopher Reeve as his godfather.
Superman himself.
You have Superman as your godfather. That is sick. Robin's career kept moving along, having roles in The World According to Garp in 1982, The Survivors in 1983, and Club Paradise in 1986. Though we said these roles didn't really advance his film career. But, I mean,
According to Garp?
How do you-
That classic that we all know and love?
Yeah.
The World
wow.
According to Garp.
Wow. Garp. Yes.
His first major break in film came from his starring role in Good Morning Vietnam in 1987, which earned Robin a nomination for the Academy Award for Best Actor. And that's like a big breakout role. It's maybe, his 5th film role?
So just to confirm, according to Garp, no nominations.
No nominations. Survivors, no nominations.
Wow.
Club Paradise, no nominations. Popeye, no nominations.
Okay, now I know that
come
the
on.
system is rigged.
Absolutely.
Good Morning Vietnam, nominated.
Okay.
I watched that at school. We must have been studying the Vietnam War.
That was his first big film. I remember that being a big hit.
Yeah,
But yeah, maybe in school as well. What year did it come out?
87.
Oh, wow. It feels like a 90s film. But that's probably because I watched it at school.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Checks out.
See, I watched it, it would have been in high school, so the 2000s. So to me, it's a 2000s film.
Oh, right. And you're probably thinking I mean the 1990s. Of course, I'm meaning the 1790s.
So Robin was allowed to play the role without a script, and he improvised most of his lines.
Did he change the outcome of the war?
Which is
We won! And everyone had to be
Yay!
like, okay, yeah.
He actually improvised the line, "Good morning, Vietnam." They're like, oh, there's something in that.
my God, he is good.
Changing the name of the film. It was initially going to be called According to Garp 2,
Back in the habit.
The Secret of the Ooze.
So the director said, we just let the cameras roll. Oh, sorry, that was from the producer, Mark Johnson. We just let the cameras roll. And Robin managed to create something new for every single take.
What an editing nightmare.
Yeah.
Oh, the editors is like pulling their hair out.
Sounds like a co-star nightmare for an anxious person like me that's like, but we have a script that we could stick to.
That's right. Everyone else, you have to stick to your script. So no matter what he says, you have to say what the script says.
Yeah. What fine weather we're having.
He just said like, wow, look, an alien. And you're like, what fine weather we're having.
What fine weather we're having. Dinner's ready, darling.
Did you ever have that when you were doing more acting, like learning acting stuff? Did you ever work with a cowboy who just wouldn't do the script?
I was the cowboy.
And she was a nightmare, let me tell you.
Yeah, let me tell you. Yeah, Dave, anything? You would have been a cowboy, I reckon.
No, I think usually people would stick to the script.
I would say most drama students take it very seriously.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe
Everyone
a
else
little
would be
too
like,
seriously, lighten up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
halftime in the show, backstage, people are like, what the fuck, man? You dropped one line out there. Come on.
You dropped one word.
Yeah.
It's the most important word in that line.
Yeah.
Did you do you ever work with someone who went on to be like really successful in acting? Even more than both of you?
Absolutely not.
No.
You didn't ever work with Hugh Jackman or something? Yeah, Hugh and I started about the same time at Whopper.
I'm really happy for him. Good on him, I say. No, I auditioned for a performing arts course and I didn't get in because I didn't get a high enough enter score, now called an ATAR, because I didn't do well enough in maths.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I had a really good audition, so I was like, okay, that's dumb. But 3 girls from my drama class, and there were only 10 in our entire drama class, 3 girls got into that course and none of them do anything within the arts now.
Yeah, right.
Right.
But there's so many acting jobs in Australia.
Yeah, exactly. But they don't I thought one of them was going to be a drama teacher, but no, she works in visual merchandising.
I'm not sure what that is.
No, that sounds
good on
like
her.
there's
Just
an extra word.
Making shops look cool.
Surely that's just merchandising. I guess you could do audio merchandising.
Sure.
She sells radio ads.
Anyway, in 1986, Robin teamed up with Whoopi Goldberg and Billy Crystal to create Comic Relief USA. So it's an annual HBO television benefit devoted to the homeless. And as of 2014, it had raised $80 million.
Wow.
So they would do this annual TV benefit and all these big names would come and perform. And, yeah, it was crazy. There are clips of it in the doco and it looks like so much fun. And, the creator of Comic Relief, this guy called Bob Zamada, he said that Robin felt blessed because he came from a wealthy home, but he wanted to do something to help those less fortunate. And he does a fair bit of philanthropy throughout his life as well, which I'll talk about later on. But between film roles and working, he'd return home to the ranch where Valerie said he would just sort of switch off and recharge. A lot of people actually said in person he was pretty quiet. He's sort of one of those people that when he's on, but he could definitely switch off.
That is interesting. I always just got the vibe, from watching him. He's just always on when you're watching him, that he was like that all the time and that in private he might be a bit much. But
Have you ever seen him in private though, Dave?
No.
There you go.
So that's
You've
interesting.
only seen him in public. Yeah, I know. I think somebody being like that all the time would get exhausting. They're a lot of fun, but you'd also be like, I'm seriously just asking you if you've done the dishes yet.
Yeah.
Can you just answer me and not in an accent?
Whoa, did I do the dishes? Yeah.
And you're like, okay, thanks.
Okay, but I can see the dishes, Robin, and they're still there. So
I've had a bad day and I just want to talk to you about it.
He picks up the dishes and the dishes are having a conversation. Hey, have you been washed yet? No, I haven't seen it so many times. Oh my God. Hey. Yeah, I'm pretty good at that too. The Robin Williams impersonation, and it ends up just being sounds. Because the hard part of doing Robin Williams is he thinks of words that whole time at that pace. Wild.
Yeah, his brain is very quick.
Was it Bob's? Sorry, Bob. Was that Bob's Zamuda? Is that the guy that was Andy Kaufman's friend?
I'm not sure. Possibly. UDA?
Yeah, he's. You know how?
Yeah.
So there was. I think he kept that Tony Clifton character going. That was sometimes. Yeah. So that he's interesting guy in his own right. What? So how was he involved? They were just a bit
created Comic Relief.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, yeah, between roles, he'd come home and he'd switch off. And Valerie said she was struggling to manage the home. She was like, I didn't have an organised kind of brain. I had no sense of order. I was supposed to sort of be this homemaker, but I didn't know how to do that. And so she hired a woman named Marsha Garces as a nanny and to help around the house and to bring a sense of order to the house. That'll come up again later.
Yeah, I'm wondering why you're mentioning this. Oh, okay.
In 1988, Robin and Valerie divorced. And when I say it'll come up later, I mean it'll come up right now. So in 1988, Robin and Valerie divorced. And tabloids widely reported that he'd run off with the nanny, Marsha. In the doco, Valerie explains that she and Robin had separated long before Robin and Marsha started a relationship. And even the way she describes their divorce is just that she was sort of like, she had loved the Hollywood lifestyle and being like the adventure of being with Robin, but it became so much as he got so popular and so famous. It became too much for her. And she's like, I didn't want that. And we grew apart and we let each other go. Like, she's so fucking zen about everything. She seems very cool. And even what she says here, because so she said they'd separated before Robin, started a relationship with Marsha. And she says, everyone got carried away with the story. And because I didn't counter it, because I don't talk to the press, they got skewered. And I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for Marsha that she had to start her adventure with Robin in such an unpleasant way. Like, she's so nice.
She's so cool about everything. Wow.
Yeah, she's really, really cool. So he married Marsha in 1989, and the same year they had their daughter Zelda. And this was a time of settling down for Robin. He'd sort of outgrown the fast-paced party touring lifestyle, and he said he felt like he was getting his life together. And he also entered a period of work which proved he was more than a goofball. He was a talented actor who brought a great deal of pathos to his work. In 1988, he did Waiting for Godot with Steve Martin, which is insane. And Robin said he learned a lot from Steve about timing and how to use a pause to your advantage, because he's talking about himself and he's like, in my act, I don't have any timing. Like, he's just like, blah, 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 blah. And watching Steve work, he was like, oh, okay, you can shut up for a sec and see what happens there. So that's pretty cool. In 1989, he played a private school English teacher in Dead Poets Society.
It's another school one I would have watched it at.
Yeah.
A real 90s feeling film.
Robin described the school that he went to, that sort of private boys' school, as this kind of vibe. Like, it was that sort of school.
Right. Oh, wow.
And that final scene, as some critics said, inspired a generation. It became part of pop culture. Oh, Captain, My Captain, sort of this big iconic scene in this in that film. In Awakenings in 1990, he plays a doctor modelled after Oliver Sacks, who was a famous neurologist. And Oliver Sacks later said that the way Robin Williams' mind worked was a form of genius. And that's coming from a neurologist who did a lot of studies into the brain and stuff. So he's just sort of like, he's hitting a really good stride with his acting work. In 91, he played an adult Peter Pan in the film Hook.
Classic.
Fuck,
that was
good.
my favourite film at the time. Love that so much.
It's great.
I looked
really
it up
good
recently
film.
and the critics didn't like it that much. And I think it's one of those ones where it's like, oh, this film wasn't for the critics. Kids at that time loved it. Everyone I knew loved it.
How about when he finally can use his imagination and he sees the food and you're like,
what a moment.
So good. Dustin Hoffman, amazing.
Shmee.
Julia Roberts is in it.
Yeah. Breakout
so
role.
Good. Anyway, huge for her. Monty Python's Terry Gilliam said Robin had the ability to go from manic to mad to tender and vulnerable. He had the most unique mind on the planet. There's nobody like him out there. Terry directed him in 2 films, so that's what he's kind of basing that on. It's just very cool to see the way that people speak about his work. So he's hit a really good stride and he's doing some work which goes on to be seen as his best. And his personal life's going pretty well too. In 1991, his 3rd child, Cody, was born. And the following year, his role as the genie in the animated musical Aladdin was written specifically for him. I think some people know that was a role that was written for him. At first, he refused since it was a Disney movie and he didn't want the studio profiting by selling merchandise based on the movie. But eventually he agreed, saying, I'm doing it basically because I want to be part of this animation tradition. I want something for my children. One deal is I just don't want to sell anything, as in Burger King, as in toys, as in stuff. Just didn't want them to make merch.
So it's not specifically...
I swear I've seen a genie toy.
Oh, I reckon I had one from McDonald's.
Macca's definitely had a genie, right?
Had one, yeah.
Yeah.
And do you get the feeling it's like he doesn't want corporations in general to profit, or is it Disney that he has a problem with?
Yeah, I think it was corporations, because it's saying toys and Burger King and stuff like that, which surely Disney would have to have some kind of relationship with them. I don't know. But he was sort of he didn't want corporations, but he wanted something for his kids and he wanted to jump on the bandwagon because animation was getting big. Animation was getting big.
Yeah, it all took off in the 90s.
Jess.
That's why they call it the second golden age, because it finally was taken off for the first time.
Before that, they hadn't thought of drawing pictures.
Wow, moving images. Amazing.
So no surprise that Robin improvised much of his dialogue, recording approximately 30 hours of tape.
Oh, again, editing nightmare.
Yeah, and also, there's a script for all the other actors. But he impersonated dozens of celebrities in character, including Ed Sullivan, Jack Nicholson, Robert De Niro, Groucho Marx, Rodney Dangerfield, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Arsenio Hall. And his role in Aladdin became one of his most recognised and best loved, and the film was the highest grossing movie of 1992, winning numerous awards, including a Golden Globe for Robin.
Absolute classic.
Yeah, that was a classic. I saw that at the cinemas up in Albury.
Did you?
On Dean Street, Albury. I remember.
You remember every movie and where you saw it?
Well, yeah, especially, that's what Alistair reckens that's my
forget that
secret
about
talent. But it's definitely fading as my memory fades. But I do remember most of the childhood movies. It was a rainy day.
Did you
we were
love
staying
it?
in Bright, and the family drove up because there wasn't much to do in Bright. We were just locked up in our little holiday place that we were renting. So, yeah, drove an hour up to Albury to watch a film, and we watched Aladdin. It was sick.
That's great. It's a good film.
I think maybe my parents went and saw Michael Collins, if I'm thinking of the same trip. So the kids went to Aladdin, parents went to Michael Collins.
You had different experiences that day. In 1993, he said hello in his role in Mrs. Doubtfire. Director Chris Columbus said watching him work was a magical and special privilege. His performances were unlike anything any of us had ever seen. They came from some spiritual and otherworldly place, which is nice. It was just hit after hit. Jumanji came out 2 years later in 1995.
Oh, we loved that. Oh, my goodness. Had the board game, the video. Oh, yeah.
I think I was too scared to watch it. But 95, I was 5. I've since seen it. Anyway, he continued to have a successful career playing a wide variety of roles over the next decade. Films like Patch Adams in 98, What Dreams May Come also
Patch
in 98,
Adams.
Bicentennial Man, Dave, 99.
Patch
Fantastic.
Adams obviously is going to be a real funny film. He's a clown doctor, so he's going to be in there clowning about, being a doctor. It's all going to be fun and funny. Oh, no. Oh.
It's going to be such a lighthearted movie, and nobody's going to criticise this guy. Oh, no.
I just looked
no.
at Michael Collins came out 4 years after Aladdin, so that was on a different trip to Dean Street, Albury.
Oh, the memory really is fading. My
that-
God.
Oh,
That's
wow.
sad.
We're worried about you, Maddie.
Your greatest gift.
No, I'm still can remember where I saw the film, but remembering where and when my parents saw films, that skill is starting to fade.
That's...
But if you're
That's
always
harder.
exactly 4 years off, you can sort
that's
of
right.
compensate for that.
Other films like Insomnia in 2002, 1 Hour Photo as well, and Angriest
romp.
Man in Brooklyn. Yeah, another
I
good
love
fun one.
photography. This is going to be fun.
This will be fun.
I haven't seen that, but apparently that's great.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. But these films showed Robin's range and dramatic abilities, as well as his ability to play layered comedic roles. That's the thing too. I reckon 1 Hour Photo was one of the first movies where I registered people were talking about Robin Williams in like a serious,
Yes, I feel that
serious
too.
role. And yeah, and people were kind of like, wow, it's so cool to see this comedian become like, it's great when they can transition and be really good actors. But it's like, no, he trained, like he was a really good actor. He is, and what, like it was...
He can raise a hat with his eyebrows.
Okay. It's funny if you see it. Eric Idle in the doco is explaining watching Robin perform one night, and I can understand the bit is funny, but seeing someone retell a bit, not funny.
Okay. So then he
Like
gets these shoes and he can't believe it. They're untied the entire time. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
The bit was that like Robin was on stage and he just had this one really persistent heckler, and Robin had everyone else in the audience all pray together for little Timmy up the back that he will die. Like he just had the audience praying for the death of this annoying heckler.
That sounds
which
brutal.
like in the moment in the audience, I'm sure would have been a bit of fun, hopefully. But retelling it, you're like, okay, it's not funny, Eric.
And was Eric like, and I was one of those people praying for this young man to die.
Yeah, exactly. Eric was, yes. Robin also continued to provide voices in other animated films, including Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest. Anyone else remember Fern
Never
Gully?
saw Fern Gully, but I do remember.
Me either.
I remember it getting some good heat in the
A lot of
amongst the
hype
kids.
on the playground.
Yeah.
Loved it. Don't remember a single thing about it. Loved it, though. Remember loving it. Robots as well in 2005, and Happy Feet in 2006. Still a lot of animated stuff as well. In March 2008, his wife Marsha filed for divorce from Robin, citing irreconcilable differences, and their divorce was finalised in 2010. And he married his third wife, graphic designer Susan Schneider, on October 22nd, 2011. So like we mentioned before, when Belushi died, Robin said it sobered the shit out of him, but he had a couple of struggles with alcohol over the course of his lifetime. In 2003, he started drinking again while he was working on a film in Alaska. He sort of talked about it and just being really isolated. It sort of started as having a drink and then it became a problem. So in 2006, he checked himself into a substance abuse rehab center in Oregon, admitting that he was an alcoholic. And years afterwards, he acknowledged his failure to maintain sobriety, but said he never returned to using cocaine. It was just alcohol that he was having issues with. And he had another admission to a rehab centre in mid-2014 for treatment of alcoholism. So, yeah, that's just one sort of part of his life as well. He had some other sort of health issues. In March of 2009, he was hospitalised due to heart problems. He postponed his one-man tour for surgery to replace his aortic valve and to correct irregular heartbeat. It was pretty big heart surgery.
Having a mother who's a car, valves are very important for him. Yeah.
So important. And this is something that his good friend Billy Crystal knew, because while Robin was in surgery, Billy left multiple voicemails on his phone as a character called Vinny the Valve Guy, as if Robin was an old car that mechanics
Is that
were working
true?
Oh, man. You're working on Billy Crystal's level over
That's
there, man.
amazing.
Yeah. Multiple messages, and then so that Robin would wake up and have all these voicemails.
That's nice.
Billy talks about the phone calls. He'd see the area code and know that it was Robin calling, and he'd answer. It would always be a different character. And the voicemails that he would leave on Billy Crystal's voicemail were really funny, which is nice. They had a really cute friendship. So Robin made a great recovery from surgery, and he said it gave him a sense of appreciating life and slowing down a little. He was on David Letterman 8 weeks later.
Wow.
Right.
Slowing
so
down.
he slowed down for about 2 months.
Yeah. But no, he talked about it, just giving him a bit of appreciation. In 2014, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. It's a progressive degenerative neurological condition that affects the control of body movements, but it has a lot of symptoms beyond the tremors that we associate it with. Heaps and heaps of things like insomnia and depression and dementia and lots of things. Obviously, not every person's going to have every symptom, but it's still a pretty full-on diagnosis. And Billy Crystal said that when Robin told him that he'd been diagnosed, it was the first time that he'd seen Robin scared. He was like, I'd never seen fear in him, and I saw it then. And unfortunately, a few months later, on August 11, 2014, at his home in Paradise Cay, California, Robin Williams was found dead, having taken his own life. Some media outlets claimed alcohol was involved, but the final autopsy stated that neither alcohol nor illegal drugs were involved, and prescription drugs present in his body were at very normal therapeutic levels. There was nothing sinister. The autopsy also provided a really important piece of information. Examination of his brain tissue suggested Robin had suffered from diffuse Lewy body dementia. It's similar to Parkinson's, but it acts a different way in the brain. And his wife, Susan, revealed that in the year before his death, he'd experienced a sudden and prolonged spike in fear and anxiety, depression and insomnia, which worsened in severity to include memory loss, paranoia and delusions. So after his death, his family and friends spoke out a lot about the condition because they wanted to make it clear that Robin's brain was feeding him misinformation and that his feelings of depression were symptoms of the disease. So his wife, Susan, was sort of saying that Lewy body dementia is what took his life, essentially.
Yes, I didn't realise that. Yeah, that. Yeah, I mean that makes it all make so much sense.
Yeah, I remember hearing that it was alcohol and stuff like that. And I think the Parkinson's diagnosis, I mean, he'd been unwell on and off for a while, but, you know, it took many, many doctors to diagnose and they said it's Parkinson's. But I don't think he publicly said anything about it. And so that came out after he died.
Right.
But then it seems that was actually misdiagnosed, and instead it was this other thing that, yeah, basically his brain was lying to him, and
Wow.
and he,
That is awful.
it's so awful, yeah. But yeah, his family spoke about it quite a lot, and his death was global news. Tributes flowed from everywhere. His daughter Zelda Williams responded to his death by saying, "The world is forever a little darker, less colourful, and less full of laughter in his absence." And President Barack Obama released a statement upon Robin's death, and it's quite nice. He says, "Robin Williams was an airman, a doctor, a genie, a nanny, a president, a professor, a bangarang Peter Pan, and everything in between. But he was one of a kind. He arrived in our lives as an alien, but he ended up touching every element of the human spirit. He made us laugh. He made us cry. He gave his immeasurable talent freely and generously to those who needed it most, from our troops stationed abroad to the marginalised on our own streets," which is
That's
a really
very
nice,
Yeah, wow.
really nice
so
statement
nice.
there.
Oh, that's great. Wow. That's summed up very nicely, Barack, or
Yeah.
whoever wrote that for Barack.
Exactly. It's summed up very nicely, Barack's speechwriting
Yeah.
team. They've done a beautiful
Yeah,
job
that
there.
is that is super nice.
Couple of things that I didn't know. I've listed them here as fun facts. They're not that fun, but they're just a little bit lighter rather than ending on the death of a legend.
Yes, we all knew it was coming, sadly, but
Well, you
Yeah.
didn't mention that
But,
Coco the gorilla also
Oh, of course,
they
yes.
were friends, and
Yes.
we talked about an episode of Primates about dedicated to Coco the gorilla, and apparently, yeah, he hung out a bit, and then when Coco was told the news, Coco signed sadness. Yeah,
Sad. Yeah.
oh,
very sweet.
That's so awful.
I think whoever was the guest on that episode was like, did they need to tell Coco? You know?
Would Coco know otherwise? Why'd you have to bum out a gorilla? So as a sort of way of coping with his addiction and sort of getting out of the habit of drugs and alcohol and stuff, he took up cycling and he became a really devoted cycling enthusiast. Eventually he accumulated a large bicycle collection and became a fan of professional road cycling, often travelling to racing events like the Tour de France. And in 2016, a couple of years after he died, his children donated 87 of his bicycles in
87
support of the
bicycles.
Challenged I know. In support of two foundations, Challenged Athletes Foundation and Christopher and Dana Reeves Foundation, his close friend.
That's a wild amount of bicycles.
I know, 87 of them. And that I don't know
Yeah.
if that's all of them.
They didn't say all of them. They said 87
Did they keep a couple
of
each as
them.
well?
We decided
Yeah.
to donate 10% of our father's collection.
Why would you have so many bikes? It feels like a bike's the kind of thing where you go, oh, maybe you've got, this is my road bike and this is my mountain bike or something. If you were,
Yeah, two bikes.
if you had the money. But 87, this one
too many
I ride
bikes.
when it's slightly rainy. This one when it's cloudy but no rain.
It's probably like Jay Leno and cars, you know?
it's just people collect.
I don't think he rides them all. Yeah, he collects them. Who
People
knows?
do that with shoes.
He made,
These ones are funny colours. Limited edition
Yeah.
bike.
I just bought 4 pairs of shoes, so.
Whoa.
4 in one go?
Yeah. Yeah. And Aiden has 1 pair of shoes.
How many
that
do
he
you have
wears
in
all the
total?
time. I don't know. Too much. I got a few. I got a few pairs of shoes.
Got
Wow,
too
'cause I
much
reckon-
shoes.
I got too much
You
shoes.
count them like water. They're not individual. I have a shoe tap. I turn on the shoe tap. Oh, too much shoe.
Too much shoes. Too much shoe.
Turn off the shoe tap. That's fun. I didn't realize you had a shoe tap.
You don't have a shoe tap in your
I
house?
don't. Well,
Oh, my God.
yeah, it runs dry very quickly.
Robin made multiple appearances at benefits to support literacy and women's rights, along with appearing at benefits for veterans. He was a regular on the USO circuit, where he travelled to 13 countries and performed to approximately 90,000 troops. He did that a lot. After his death, the USO thanked him for all he did for the men and women of our armed forces. It's pretty crazy.
It really, like what Barack Obama, I don't know why I'm not on first name basis with Barack Obama, or what Barack was saying before. But yeah, how he touched every section of, like he played such a diverse cast of characters in terms of professions, I guess. That's probably what every actor would do, though, over a career, I assume.
Play lots of different things.
Yeah.
But you would hope, or you're being typecast as a doctor.
But it seems like a lot of his, that's true too. It does seem like a lot of his were occupation based.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Like when he played
Genie,
that fast growing boy.
Peter Pan.
Bicentennial Man.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Robot.
I'm not usually quickly proven wrong.
Man who eats spinach to become a strong sailor.
Well, sailor though, right?
Occupation.
You're focusing on the spinach, but the occupation was sailor.
I thought his occupation was spinach enthusiast, but you're right. You're all right.
You're all right. He, in response to the 2010 earthquake in Christchurch, he donated all proceeds of his weapons of self-destruction performance to help rebuild Christchurch.
Wow. So another 87 bikes.
That's why they got so many of those like renter bikes around. They're just all Robin Williams bikes. It's crazy.
Christchurch is such a beautiful city. Jeez, it's had a tough run lately.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for that most recent tough run. Years after the films came out, Janet Hershenson revealed in an interview that Robin Williams had expressed interest in portraying Hagrid in the Harry Potter film series.
Oh, wow.
But was rejected by Chris Columbus due to the British only. They were having only British actors. But can you imagine Robin Williams as Hagrid? Would have been a very different tone.
You're a wizard, Harry. Ho, hey, ho, ho, ho.
But I mean,
what's that behind you? Whoa.
Justin sort of talked about it. He does have range. You can play it pretty straight. I wonder if he would have played it sort of small. Just play a giant small.
Well, the director of 1 Hour Photo was saying that, like, between takes, he would be classic Robin Williams. And the director kind of figured out that if he let Robin just play and get all that sort of energy out, he would get an even better performance from him when they were rolling. He's like, he just had like a glow about him then. He was like, there was an energy about him.
That's the same method we use for tiring out our dog.
Yes.
Take it for a long
let him
walk,
get it out of him.
Get it out.
Or toddlers.
And then we start filming, and of course he gives an Academy Award-worthy performance. But
God, you've got a good dog. Well, speaking of awards, actually, just to finish off, I've got like a list here. So he won 1 Academy Award, was nominated 4 times, 4 Grammys, 3 Emmys, 6 Golden Globes, being nominated for 12, as well as 2 MTV Awards and 2 SAG Awards. So he won a lot of awards and was nominated for a lot more.
What is he, 3 of 4 and an EGOT, is it? Where he just missed the Tony?
Yeah.
So he's got Emmy, Grammy and Oscar?
Yeah.
Wow. And if they counted Golden Globes?
And Golden Globes.
He'd be really...
And if they counted MTV Awards, oh my God.
I'm watching the Best Picture Oscar movies in reverse order. I've just watched the most recent 4, and I'm starting to think maybe MTV Picture of the Year is more my speed.
Yeah. Probably a bit more fun.
I had a look, and they are all Avengers films. Recently, there's a lot of Marvel movies have been.
What kind of loser would watch all of the Marvel films in some kind of order? What kind of lame person
I would say
would bother?
Probably a lot of people, and they're all great people, Jess. Don't be so hard on yourself. Have you got through them all?
Yeah, I finished them.
You did that
and now I feel empty.
Too.
And I actually had to slow down at the end. I'd space them out at the end.
And how many is it? 95 films?
It's like 20-something, I think. It feels like 95, yes.
Wow. As soon as a movie called Ant-Man came out, I was like, wow, okay. All right, they're doing them all. They're doing them all.
Yeah, I
Ant-Man's
love
fun.
the Ant-Man one.
I know people love it, but it just made me laugh, not being super into
They're-
Paul,
They're
the
often
Marvel stuff.
ranked.
I wasn't aware of him.
I think they're
Yeah.
often the big Marvel fans don't rank the Ant-Man ones that high, but I find them really fun. I
Paul
like
Rudd's really
Rudd.
hot
yeah,
too.
Paul Rudd's hot. And who's the cop in one of them?
Randall Park.
Randall Park. I love Randall
You
Park
always
so
forget
much.
Randall Park.
I can never. He's one of my favorite actors. I can never remember his name. It's a great name too.
He's great.
He's so
very
funny. Which one's he in? Or is he in both?
Second one.
The second one. I got to watch it again.
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I watched that at the cinemas. Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Where were you?
Where? Come on.
It was at the Nova in Carlton.
Okay.
Okay.
And what were Mum and Dad watching? Yeah.
Yeah, where were Mum and Dad?
Mum and Dad dropped me off.
Yeah, they were
They
watching.
went to watch an adult film.
this-
Not an adult film, sorry. A film aimed at
Deep
an
Throat
adult
2.
audience, if you know what I mean. Yeah, they watched
Yeah.
the porn version of Ant-Man. Dave, what's it called?
Pant Man.
Pants Man.
Not my best. Dave, what do you got?
Well, Pants Man's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think you can beat that, Dave. Jess, you nailed it.
Thank you.
Or Ant,
Finally.
Ant Dick.
No, that's
It's where a guy who's able to shrink the size of his dick way down. And then they finally figure out they can. What's the giant version of Ant-Man, Bob? It's called like Gigantor or something.
he's still just Ant-Man.
Oh, but I think in the comics he had a different name. Anyway.
Right. I don't know.
Yeah, it's that only Dick. Gigantor Dick. It's his spin-off character.
All right. Maybe they didn't jump the gun at all.
I just remembered one more thing to add, if I may, which is nice. Because Robin said his children gave him a great sense of wonder. And in 2019, Zach, his eldest child, and his fiancée Olivia announced the birth of their son, McLaurin Mickey Clements Williams. And McLaurin is Robin's middle name. And then Cody, his youngest son, and his fiancée were married on July 21st of last year on what would have been Robin's 68th birthday. So his kid's honouring him in that way, which is nice.
That's nice. Thanks for
But yeah,
having
that's
some nice facts at the end.
Yeah, it's like, here's some nice stuff. That's my report on Robin Williams.
Oh, that's great. Great work, Bob. Oh, that was really cool. I kind of assumed I would have known all about him. But yeah, I had that idea in my head that he was like a lot of comedian actors who start in comedy and then move into serious acting. Like Jim Carrey, I assume. But maybe now I'm doubting that. Did he start studying drama as well?
Maybe, but I'm confident Adam Sandler didn't. But boy, he's tried to do some serious roles.
And he's done them pretty well.
Yeah, Mr. Big was good. It wasn't
Wasn't
a serious one.
I watched his recent Halloween one last night, where he plays sort of the Bobby Boucher character from Waterboy, only he's in the what's the town where the witch trials were? Salem. So he's in Salem and it's Halloween, but he's really scared of Halloween as well. And then
What is this movie?
Is this a serious movie?
It's called Hubie Halloween. No, he plays like it's weird that he's still playing characters like this, but you ever see The Waterboy?
Mhm.
It's a very Waterboy, where he's sort of, hey, I'm Tanner, that sort of character.
And,
Yes.
and this was made recently.
Yeah, it was released this week, I think.
Oh, wow.
Are you the only person who's watched it?
It was ranked number 5 on Netflix in Australia. So
Wow.
By
That's a
Netflix
no.
being
or
viewed. Apparently Adam Sandler's he's one of their big stars. He gets a lot of views. I really like the Sandman. I'm a big Sandman fan. And then I watched a YouTube video that suggests that all of Sandler's films are in the same universe. Because there are a lot of, in this film, there was a family called the O'Doyles. Like the
O'Donnell?
O'Doyles.
no.
O'Doyle Rules.
O'Doyle?
From
I thought it was O'Donnell. O'Doyle.
Billy Madison.
O'Doyle rules!
And yeah, there've been O'Doyles in a lot of different films. Hey, Jess, I've just looked up what he's known as when he becomes big, when the Ant-Man becomes big.
Yeah.
You want to have a stab?
Big Ant-Man?
Giant Man. How do they do
That's
it?
good. That's
I don't know
good.
how they
It's
come up
better.
with it.
That is arguably better than Big Ant-Man, though.
I
We
actually
can
kind of
safely say
prefer
that.
Big Ant-Man.
Thank you.
But I guess Big Ant-Man would just be the size of a dog or something.
Yeah, that's a fucking big ant.
holy
Ant-Man.
shit!
Small dog.
You'd run away
Small
from
dog.
that ant.
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Oh, yeah.
Small dog.
Small dog.
Like a chihuahua. That's still a big fucking ant.
That was a great report. Great Blocktober report.
Oh, the third
Blockbuster-tober.
most. We were surprised, as you said at the top, Jess, that this is the third most voted. But still, they've chosen a great one. That was a great report.
And it's great because it's meant that all three have been, quite different so far. We had a famous murder trial. Then we had an explorer harrowing journey, and now a famous entertainer biography.
There's a really good documentary called Robin Williams' Come Inside My Mind. It came out in 2018, and it gave me a lot of great info for this. So if you want to check it out, I would highly recommend. But as always, all of our references and stuff will be in the description of the episode.
Great work, Popeye.
Thank you.
I just had a quick look to see some other notable Juilliard School alumni, if you have got any interest. Robin Williams is the first one listed.
Cool.
And Christopher Reeve is right up there. Kevin Spacey, Mandy Patinkin.
Yes, Mandy Patinkin was in Robin's year. Yep.
Oscar Isaac, Nina Simone.
Wow.
John Williams, the composer. So I'm guessing he did music. I'm guessing Nina Simone probably did music as well. Barry Manilow, Pat Benatar.
Pat Benatar, cool.
Yeah.
Barry Manilow.
Sid Caesar. Alan Greenspan, the economist. It's quite a broad range of just big names. And then a lot of names I've never heard of as well. Val Kilmer is a name I have heard of.
I think it's a weird name standing out to me. I don't know.
Philip
Don't know what it is.
Glass,
Kilmer.
another composer. Kyle Gass from Tenacious D.
Oh, Tenacious D.
That's cool. I wonder what...
Went to Juilliard. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm guessing he did music as well.
Cage.
Sorry, Cage. It's the only way.
The funniest duo. Oh, my God.
Yeah, they're great. So good. All right, so this brings us to everyone's favourite section of the show, the fact, quote, or question section, which has a little jingle that goes a little something like this.
Fact, quote, or question.
He always remembers the ding. And to get involved in this, you go to patreon.com/dogoonpod, linked in the show notes, and you then get involved in the Sydney Scheinberg Deluxe Memorial Edition package rest in peace level, or some version of that. And once you're on board there, you'll get a link and you can give us a fact, a quote, or a question. If you are on that level and you are confused by that, send me a message. I'll hook you up.
Through Patreon?
Through Patreon. Yeah, send us a Patreon message. Now,
or just on his phone number.
Yeah, give us a text.
04.
You've said too much.
I wish I knew your number off by heart, but I don't even know mine.
Yeah, I know mine, and you just don't have to do that like you used to. I know my parents' home line, if they still even have it.
My parents just got rid of their landline, so I know Mum's, but I'm fucked for Dad. I don't know. I usually just call Mum.
Yeah.
Say, can I talk to Dad?
My dad's got a mobile, but very rarely has it on him.
Yeah, it's a dad thing.
It's just he keeps it as a landline, basically. Oh, I just keep it at home next to the landline phone.
My grandpa used to famously keep it plugged in inside the pantry. So you couldn't even hear it ring even if you were in the...
I love how famously, world famous. Everyone knew him.
Everyone knew.
In my family, which is obviously
that's a big
pretty famous family.
A worldwide family. I love the idea that he got famous outside the family for that. Everyone knows.
Everyone knew him.
The Warnicky grandpa.
Hey, you're the guy, the pantry guy.
The pantry phone guy.
Yes, it's me, former Q.
So if you're involved on the Sydney Scheinberg level, you get to give us a fact, a quote, or a question, and we do 4 each week. You get to choose the fact, the quote, or the question, obviously, and you also get to give yourself a title. Firstly, this week, we've got Paul McNally. I wonder if any relation to Rand.
Rand McNally.
Is that the first place? I don't even know what that means. Is that the brand of Atlas or something? But
yeah, they're a famous Atlas production.
Because Bart points to it on the globe. We'll call anywhere on the globe, and then they end up calling Australia. But first he points to Rand McNally. Hopefully Paul is from the Rand McNally Empire. Paul's given himself the title Resident Life Coach and Guidance Counselor against submitting Patreon submissions drunk. Brackets, fuck's sake. Close bracket.
That's really funny.
All right, so Paul's given us a fact, and here it is. Being my job, I like medical facts. That's a fun start. Being my job...
Do we know what the job is?
No. Well, as far as I know, he's a resident life coach and guidance counsellor. Being my job, I like medical facts. I think this one is reasonably well known But here you go. In the age before anesthesia and antibiotics. Am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. In the age before anesthesia and antibiotics, speed of surgery was key to patient survival. Oh, of course. Or so it was thought. Oh, no. Surgeons would race to operate the quickest, giving rise to weird scenarios. In 1847, Robert Liston performed a leg amputation in 28 seconds. He accidentally cut through his assistant's finger. He worked so fast. Both his patient and assistant died of gangrene, and someone in the viewing gallery died of shock from the gore, leaving this as the only surgery ever to have a 300% mortality rate.
How did he do it in 20? He must have just used an axe.
That's a chainsaw. Oh, it's probably before the days of chainsaws. Yeah, he's just axed it off.
The person in the crowd, what were they expecting to see? Even if they didn't cut the finger off, they were there to see a leg amputation. So it's going to be gory.
Yeah. Why the fuck are you watching that?
He accidentally dropped a junior mint. Oh, here we go. Sorry, Paul has told us his job before. He works as a radiographer, mainly with X-ray and MRI.
Fantastic.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I knew because it was talking to us like it was continuing the conversation. I just forgot that he had told us that the last time he gave us a fact or quote or question. Thank you so much, Paul.
That was a great fact.
That feels like a mini report almost. I feel like that's the most condensed report we've ever had. Great work, Paul.
Yeah.
The next one comes from Roy Phillips, who's given himself the title of Chief Proprietor of Bombardier Beer. Love it.
Did he write down his actual job title?
These are all actual job titles, Dave. So,
Okay, Dave.
oh my God.
Watch the tude, okay?
A resident grade 3 teacher.
Dave, I got you tutored about 11. I need to dial that back to a 4 or a 5. So Roy has a question. You ready for this?
Yes.
Thought I'd mix up a classic question with a bit of do go on spice. Ooh.
Oh, hello.
Which person that you've covered as a topic or has been a topic would you like to have as a dinner guest?
Dolly Parton.
Ooh, good
Oh.
one.
Good one.
But I'd make her bring a guitar.
You wouldn't just have one ready. You'd go, you better bring your fucking guitar, Dolly.
That's true. I've got a guitar. She could use that.
But she's like, when people are on the way, I'm on my way now, need me to pick up anything on the way? Yeah,
Just
your
bring
guitar.
a guitar. Yeah, because politely you go, just bring yourself. I've got everything sorted. I'd be like, just bring yourself and your guitar and warm up your vocals on the way.
Me, my, mo.
Because we're having a sing-along. Okay.
I'd say mine would be DB Cooper. So many questions.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one because you can go, who are you?
Yeah. And he'd say his name and I'd be like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
But I'd want to know, I'd be like, did you live? What happened to
Yeah.
the money? All that sort of stuff. If you
Imagine
did,
asking a guy at your house, did you live through it?
Did you live through that?
Oh, no.
I'm imagining that this is like you could have
Yeah.
anyone dead or
I think
alive.
that's probably true.
Yeah.
That's a
Matt, why did you say that's a good one to Dave in such a way that implied mine wasn't a good one?
To be honest, Bob, if I could be invited to one of these in Sidecar, it would definitely be your dinner party. I'd be like, Dave, tell us about it later.
Yeah, that's right. Mine's good for the info, which I can bring back to the show, but it's probably not a great night.
Oh, well,
It's just a
I mean,
guy.
it could be. He's a dreamboat after all.
Yeah.
Just look in those eyes if you can. But
He's wearing specs the whole time.
His dark sunglasses. Oh, man, I don't know.
No, it's
Bigfoot?
hard, hey.
What about...
Great, yeah. Could give you a piggyback. That'd be nice.
Oh, no, hang on. The
Whee!
lizard man from...
Well,
Oh, what would be on the menu then?
yeah, you know what you're serving for dinner?
butter beans.
Butter beans.
The thing you got to remember is the lizard man loves butter beans. That's a good question. I feel like there'd be 100 different people I would love to have over.
Absolutely, of course.
That would be a good question, I reckon, for people to let us know who they
Oh, yeah, it's great.
Love to hear that, actually.
Yeah, definitely tweet at us. Maybe reply to this episode. Who would you love to have dinner with from the bloody back catalogue? I lost myself mid-sentence. The next one comes from Gary J from the UK.
Gary J.
And Gary, I thought last week we had Bettel, who gave themselves the title Egg Hater. And we're like, wow, that's the most succinct title we've had, I think. Well, Gaddy J from the UK has gone one better. His title is Mr., which is great.
Mr. Gary J.
Very
I
good.
thought that was
Gary.
his father.
Mr. Gaddy J from the UK is my father's name.
Call me Gary J.
And Mr. Gary J has asked a question also. His question is, if there was no pandemic and money wasn't an issue, what's something you'd love to do? What's something you'd love to do or go? Or somewhere you'd love to go or do? Oh, my God. That's I've not read that very well. And he's given an answer for himself, but maybe we'll give ours first.
Okay, mine would be to go on the trip that I plan to go through for my 30th birthday, which is the African safari.
Oh, were you going to have an African safari? Holy
Yeah, I was going to
shit.
go at the end of August.
Oh,
Damn
my.
it.
Did I know that?
Yeah, I'm sure I've talked about it.
That's amazing. Sorry,
Jess
Dave.
and I both had to cancel overseas trips.
Yeah, mine. I would have. We've sort of been thinking about and hoping to do like a big trip. You know, a couple of months of seeing lots of places. So all around the US or in Canada or something like that. If there was no pandemic and money wasn't an issue, I would take off for like 4 months and see a lot.
Love that.
I reckon I'd do a really big
It's
trip.
the best. Some of
Yeah.
my happiest memories are just traveling where it just feels like you've got all the time in the world. Once you
Yeah.
go 4 months plus, or probably even a couple months or more, it just feels like you got so much time. So just everything
that's my
feels
plan
different.
when the world opens up again.
Love it. I
Maybe
guess
for our 50th.
my obvious one would be to do the American tour that we had planned. And it's a similar idea. It would be a longish trip. Traveling around America would be so good. I was also meant to go to do my first Edinburgh Fringe Festival. That would have been, I mean, yeah, apart from all the things that I was meant to do anyway, on a smaller scale than that. What else? I had a few things that I had coming up that I would have loved to have done. But on a smaller scale, I'd just love to have a day in a beer garden with friends, drinking beers in the sunshine. It would be so nice.
Yep, that would be great.
Yeah.
Much smaller scale. Yeah, I'd love to go, down the coast somewhere. A couple of hours away.
I'd love to go.
That'd be fine, thanks.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to Rebel Sport.
Yeah, I'd love to go to Rebel
Just
Sport.
buy-
You know what?
buy
Even
soccer.
closer. I'd love to go to my mum's house.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Dad lives there too, but
I picked
I always do that. I'm always like, I want to visit my mum, and then
And
people
Dad.
assume that my parents have split up or Dad's no longer alive or something, and I'm always like, oh no, sorry, Dad's there too. Dad's there too.
I picture my folks at the beer garden. You two as well.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to be in the same room as you
You
two, to be honest. You too. Bono's there. Edge. Gary Mullins Jr. And the fourth and final member.
Did you just call him Gary Mullins Jr.?
Larry Mullins Jr.
And it's Adam Clayton.
Adam Clayton.
I'm Clayton. Yeah, good point, Matt. It would be nice to be able to just do this in our normal
I'm
studio
so
again.
excited to be able to do that because for people outside of Melbourne, we're moving in the right direction, generally speaking. It seems like it's now starting to feel hopeful that maybe we'll be able to do the podcast in the same room by the end of the year, I think,
Wow.
which is kind of nice, which will mean we'll also hopefully do some live streams as well. So stay tuned
Crossing
for
our
that. But yeah, we
fingers.
need
Yeah.
things to keep being positive in the world of COVID. So Gary answered his own question here. He said, me and Nat, my wife, he said in Borat voice.
My wife.
Thank you for that direction there, Gaddy. He said, me and Nat, my wife, are turning 40 in 4 years and are saving up to go to Australia. And I really want to get in one of them cages and swim with a shark. Oh, that's cool.
Whoa.
That's a great one.
I mean, we do that
I
all the
love-
time, so.
Yeah, it's a very Aussie thing to do, so that's great. I love that kind of that forward planning of like, all right, for the 40th, let's go do this. That's awesome.
You did that. I mean, you both did that for your 30th. Maybe not 4 years, but you were talking about it for a good year or something, I reckon.
That was that's true, and
Hang on a
that was the
second.
longest. What?
About 5 minutes ago, Matt said, I've never heard that you wanted to go on a trip for your 30th. And now you're like, you were talking about this for a year. You couldn't stop banging on
I know.
about it.
I knew Jess was going to Hawaii for a year, I reckon, and I knew you were doing a trip. But I thought I had it in my head you were going somewhere else. But we've also talked about it. At one point, I was going to come to Africa with you, Dave. So maybe it just hit home that you were going without me. And
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, awful.
Repress that. But you're right. I got tickets, the flights to Hawaii in October of last year, and that's the furthest ahead I've ever booked a holiday. And it was only because there were like insane sale flights, and I was like, all right, well, what coincides with my birthday? Hawaii. Okay. Otherwise, I have never, ever planned a trip so far in advance, and I never will again because it didn't pay off, did it?
yeah, it's interesting because I think one of the best things about a holiday is the anticipation, looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So
The
you kind of got
planning,
great
yeah.
value out of it without the payoff of it. But that's the plus about booking ahead. But what you did was just give yourself a brutal disappointment.
Yeah. A real deep cut.
Dave and I were talking for a little while. Our birthday present for you was going to be, we were going to give you an Hawaiian day at home. So we're going to buy you Hawaiian records, ingredients for Hawaiian cocktails, Hawaiian shirt, or 2 Hawaiian shirts, and some decorations and stuff. And then someone pointed out, which is something I didn't even consider at all. They're like, that might just really hammer home that she's not able to go to Hawaii. I'm like, I had not considered that angle.
I'd fully mourned the holiday, so that would have been nice. But I think you did very well with your generous birthday gifts this year.
Was that too
Now,
much
let's
to
go
ask,
back.
Jess? That was the only reason I brought it up.
Let's go back to never giving gifts again.
Wait, when I turned 30, thank you so
130.
much, Gary J. That was a great one. Geez, that kicked off a bit of a convo. And finally this week, Tom Goodall, who's given himself the title of Undersecretary for Underwear.
Oh.
Undersecretary. Okay.
And Tom has asked a question as well. Now that you guys are all over 30 and getting on in years, it's time to consider writing your memoirs. What title would you give your autobiography? He says, I expect some puns in the title. Well, I'm not. Dave will have to tell me if mine's got a pun in it or not, because I don't really understand what a pun is.
I want some kind of perk pun, I guess.
Yeah, right. If he wants puns, I've got art in the name there.
Mine might just be something like, Jess Perkins, a tortured artist.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I like that a lot.
What about
what about Matt Stewart, a memoir?
Oh,
Ooh,
wow.
Simple,
Classy.
classic. Yes, love it. No, it is not a pun.
Oh, damn it.
Dave?
What about the Matt Stewart story by Dave Warnocky?
Ooh, throw them off.
Yeah, that's right. Probably move a few more units because you have a more interesting life than you've lived a lot longer. What about like Warnocky? What is he good for?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Oh, that's good. I think
absolutely nothing is the answer.
That's
what it says on the back.
Yeah. You flip it over.
My favorite chapter in my book will be how I was in Vegas when I turned 30. You guys could probably relate to this, being overseas for your 30th.
The best chapter in mine will be called Countdown.
I had a horrific dream last night about Barnsey.
What do you mean?
We all it was reported in the media that he had been in hospital, but he was fine. But then it came out that he'd actually been murdered, and that they put that story out there to try and catch the killer.
Oh, and wow! You watch a lot of Poirot.
Yeah.
What a great concept for a dream.
And I was working.
Did you wake up and immediately Googled Barnsey?
No, I hadn't thought about it. You know how you don't really think about it until that just jogged my memory, and it was really awful in the moment. We were all very upset by it. Australia was in mourning.
Oh,
of course.
I would 100% be. He had a great name for his autobiographies because his iconic solo song is Working Class Man. So he split it in two. The first one was called Working Class Boy, which covered his childhood, and then Working Class Man's the sequel to it. So that's pretty good. If we had a hit song, it would make it a lot easier.
Yeah, that's right. Could we just call it Do Go On theme music?
How about that?
By Evan Munro-Smith.
Yeah.
Altogether, you probably have our our autobiography, our joint autobiography could be called something like Do Go On and On or something.
Oh, that's good. But again, we've had a big lawsuit by that time, so mine's called Dave Go On. And people are like, that doesn't quite work.
And mine's called The Truth Behind Do Go On. And it is scathing.
Oh, my
It's
God.
a saucy peek behind the curtain. Dave, you also did a similar bad wordplay one for the bonus episode, Dave Island Discs.
Yeah. No, I think I called it Desert Island Dave.
Desert Island Dave.
Desert Island Dave.
Dave Island Disc makes even more sense, actually. It took out the
Island
discs
Dave.
part, which is the bit you were keeping.
So bad.
But I
so
love it.
good.
Yeah. Geez, Tom, I reckon we've let you down. That's another one. If anyone's got any ideas for our autobiography titles, please do send them through. I know some of our listeners are better pun masters than we are ourselves, which, to be honest, would not be that hard. Beyond Dave, who is a genuine pun master.
Oh, it's master bows down before a king, let me just tell you.
Matt. Doormat. Is that a pun?
Oh, wow.
The Doormat book. That's a good one.
That sounds shit. It's just a book of doormats.
Well, it's a book about how people have just walked all over me my whole life. Never treated me with respect.
If you want a good photo for the cover image, my doormat is half a watermelon. It looks real cute.
Oh, that's great.
That's nice.
I've wiped my feet on that doormat, Jess. Not for a while, though.
Yeah, can't wait till we get to wipe our awful, awful shoes on your beautiful mat again.
Can't wait to see your shoe tap again.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll show you the
4
shoe
new
tap.
pairs.
Help yourself.
Dave's only had one pair of shoes for 10 years, so he cannot relate.
So I got a new one recently for the birthday, so here's to 10 more years.
We should get on to thanking some other patrons. We like to thank a few others along the way, and Jess normally comes up with something, a little game to play from the show.
I don't have time to think about it when I'm doing the report. Okay. What was some funny stuff that came up?
Yeah, I guess it's maybe like another weird cartoon to do a real life version of. So he did Popeye in real life, even though it's a cartoon. So we could do, like
What they're the star of.
yeah, they're the star of a.
Oh, don't waste it. I don't think there's that many.
Okay, well, yeah, I think all right. Well, can I kick it off?
Yeah,
Only if Jess has given us the stamp of approval.
sure.
You have no one. If you think of something better while I'm reading out this name, let us know.
No. I think that's good. Giving them a movie title's good.
I'm thinking, firstly, from Nashville, Tennessee, home of country music, Eric Alba.
Eric Alba.
Maybe Eric could be in the film version of Lurleen Lumpkin with a human playing. Do you remember Lurleen Lumpkin?
No.
She's the country musician who was flirting with Homer.
Oh,
Who
yeah.
became her
I'm
manager.
asking. She asked if you'll bunk with her tonight.
Bunk with me tonight.
Yes, of course I remember
But,
Lurleen. Yes.
I mean, that storyline has been begging for a real life big screen
live action
adaptation. Yeah.
Yeah, that cartoon definitely needs to be adapted into a cartoon.
So maybe Eric Alba plays Homer. And yeah, who plays Lurleen Lumpkin? Maybe Jessica Alba.
Oh, I
Yes.
love it. Perfect casting.
Yeah. That's really good.
That's good.
Really good.
Have you ever seen The Simpsons made like what they would look like if they were real?
Terrifying.
They're always terrifying.
Terriful. Yeah. Terriful.
Terriful's a good word. I like that. What do you call those again? Smushing two words together?
Christotunity. Portmanteau.
Portmanteau, that's it. The next person I'd love to thank is from, apologies for the pronunciation. I'm going to say Lurak from Germany, I think, DE. Dominic Schwind.
Dominic Schwind. So wait, are we doing animated versions or live action versions?
Live action versions of TV
animated
things.
What about the Jetsons?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see a live action version of that.
Lots of technology would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be really fun.
That'd be fun.
Meet George Jetson. There's a billboard. It's maybe like a jeweler or something called George Jensen, and it brings that theme song into my head every time.
Meet George Jensen.
Daughter Judy.
There was a Harvey Birdman episode that had the Jetsons in it, and it was like, it was very funny. They somehow were interacting with Harvey Birdman. They needed him to represent him in a case. And because from their reality, everything was just like travelators and stuff. So they came in the front door of Harvey Birdman's office and they're like, where's the travelator? And they couldn't walk very well because they were used to just being travelated everywhere. So it's like they're just very slowly walking. The dog dies on the journey. It's going from night to day to night to day, and they're just making their way across like the 4-meter walk in the door. Very funny stuff. Anyway, thank you, Dominic Schwind.
Thank you, Dominic.
Who will play George Jetson. And finally, I'd love to thank from Waterloo in Ontario, Canada.
Commit. If you're going to commit. Waterloo.
I'd love to thank Zoe Helena.
Zoe Helena.
What about live?
What about...
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say Captain Planet, but I think College Humor or someone's already done
Don
that.
Cheadle was Captain Planet.
What about Harvey Birdman, Attorney at Law? Do you know that cartoon?
Yeah,
Pretty
I do,
funny
yeah.
stuff.
I don't. But it sounds fun.
It is really fun. And
Why don't I know it?
Zoe could play Harvey, or I can't think of any of the other characters in it.
Well, you want title character, don't you?
Yeah. Yep.
So she's playing Harvey.
We're going to do a gender swap. I know that the fans of Harvey Birdman, knowing how the comic book community loves gender swaps in films, I reckon they're going to be right on board with this.
They love a reinterpretation.
Yeah, well, they do. Yeah, it's a really fun cartoon. If anyone's looking for cartoon tips,
There you go, Zoe Harvey Birdman.
from Waterloo. There was no ABBA. She could play the real life version of the ABBA cartoon.
Yeah,
If that is a real thing. Almost definitely is.
surely at some
The
point.
past was a different time in a lot of ways.
Can I thank some people as well?
Oh, please, Jess, can you?
I would love to thank from Wingdale, New York, Kevin Packrad.
Oh, the pack.
Kevin Packrad. Have we not shouted out to Kevin Packrad before?
How have we not?
This feels like an error. I feel like we must have. But I guess we got to commit from here because I'll have to go back through the bloody database to
Maybe
double-check
we
that.
feel like we do because he has suggested so many.
Oh, that is
great
a very good point.
topics.
Yes, he has.
So maybe we feel like we've mentioned him in that way.
Well, I feel like he's a pretty cool guy. So what if Kevin Packrad played Johnny Bravo?
Oh,
Good one.
He's the guy with the big jaw.
Yeah.
And the big
Johnny
hair.
Bravo.
And tiny
Yeah,
legs.
Oh, that's so
And he
good.
says, hello, mama.
That's very good. He does do that.
I just want to give Zoe one other option because I
Sure.
feel like if people don't know, Blinky Bill, real life koala, Blinky Bill.
Oh, she
Zoe
can play
Helena.
Nutsy if she wants to, or Bill, or Blinky.
I want to give this Canadian another option she's definitely heard of, Blinky Bill.
Blinky Bill, that had to be a big... Was that not a big international show?
I don't know.
All right, Zoe, right at the end, I'll give you one third option.
Why are
okay?
you wasting all of these great
I'm
options?
sorry.
We've got more people to go.
Oh, okay.
And I'm already out of ideas.
Yes, no, sorry, Jess, you're thanking people.
Yes, I am, you piece of shit. So you stay in your lane, Dave.
Well, I've got some cartoons ready to go, so if you're desperate,
Great.
let me know.
I'm always desperate. I'd love to thank from Oakland, California. I'd love to thank Michael Jahi Chappelle. Chappelle.
Chappelle. Well, what about, does anyone remember Hey Arnold?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's a good
Move
one.
it, football head.
Arnold. Yes.
Hey
That's such a
Arnold,
good.
That's a really good
I
one.
loved that one. I loved Hey Arnold. It
Yeah, I
was
was
sick.
a Hey Arnold fan. Good stuff. Loving that. Michael, so do you think he's playing the titular Arnold?
Yeah, with his big hair and a tiny little cap sitting in between the two tufts of hair.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's great.
And then
watch Hey
when him and Gerald, the best friend, put their thumbs together and it made this noise that went woo 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 woo.
Oh, yeah.
And Matt, if you think real life Homer would be pretty full on looking, I think the
Ugh.
real life Hey Arnold would be something else.
His head
Someone
literally is a
else.
football with the ears on the other side.
His grandpa was nice too.
Yes.
Just saying. And finally, for me, I would love to thank from Vancouver in WA. What's Washington?
Yeah, Washington, I reckon.
They're Vancouver as well. I'd love to thank Terry Salcido.
Ah, Terry. Well,
Salcido.
he loves his
One of those has
bread.
gotta be right.
Cheeto.
He loves his butter. But most of all, he loves each other. Madeline.
Yes.
I think this might even be Terry with an I, potentially a woman.
Oh, well, even better because she loves her bread. She
Yes.
loves her butter. But most of all,
But most of all, we
Terry
love
loves each other. Madeline.
That's
Terry,
a good
congrats. You are now a French orphan.
Oh.
Oh, but she's so happy all the time. Loves
She's
life.
Madeline. She's Madeline. I love Madeline. So
Oh,
cute.
and Pepito?
Yes. There was a live action film, if I remember correctly,
really?
many, many years ago. It's time for a reboot.
Okay.
Potentially. I remember my nana taking my sister and I to see that.
Oh, wow.
I can't tell you the name of the cinema. Sorry, Matt.
Huh. Was it in Dean Street, Albury?
Yeah, and your parents were watching Titanic at the time.
Dean Street, Albury. It was always advertised on regional TV up around there, and every ad was Dean Street, Albury. It just seemed like such a magical place. Everything's
Just the
on
main
Dean Street,
street.
Albury.
Wow.
Dean Street, Albury.
Aubrey's really got it going on.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Yeah, the film came out in 1998. So there you go. Almost checks out with Titanic. Almost.
Yeah, you're very close.
Was at the cinema for so long, it potentially
Probably.
does. So thanks, Terry.
That's me done, Dave, if you want to bring it home.
I want to bring it home now with, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, I'd like to thank Eddie Kuhn.
I want to go with
Kuhn.
What was
Kuhn.
what was the cartoon where his sister was DW?
Arnold. Hey,
No,
Arnold.
that's Arthur.
Arthur.
Yes.
I said that.
When
And
you
I-
said "Hey Arnold," that popped into my head, Arthur, and I couldn't quite picture his name.
And I know that.
DW.
I know that because my initials are DW, so I got a fair bit of that.
Yep.
I know. I call you DW, and I also call our friend Danielle Walker DW. So it comes into my head a lot.
There you go. So
Arthur,
Eddie,
that's a good one.
DW.
Eddie, maybe your name is Kun or Kun, so Kuhn. So I apologise for saying that wrong. But Eddie, you are the titular Arthur, the aardvark.
I think Eddie might even be. It
Congratulations.
might be Edie. E-D-I.
Oh,
I'm
my
not going to start correcting people's pronunciation, but that would be my best guess, just in case. Edie Kuhn
Yeah.
or Khan. Jeez, it's a good name. I'd love to know how to say it. Edie.
Well, thank you so much from Milwaukee, Wisconsin there. I'd like to thank now from a mystery location, possibly from the Fortress of the Moles. I would like
Can
to
only assume.
thank Alan Gilsonan.
Alan Gilsonan.
Alan.
Fantastic.
Alan's a mystery.
What about Rick and Morty?
Oh, good one.
Which one is he going to be?
Pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick. He's going to be Pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick.
I thought for a second I
Pickle
thought you
Rick.
said Pick a Rick. Oh yeah. All right. I guess Rick. But there are a lot of
Nice
Ricks
one.
in there. I forgot about
Pickle Rick, though.
Pickle Rick. Alan Gilsonan.
Thank you so
You
much.
just don't want to be Jerry. You just
Alan.
don't want to be
Oh.
Jerry. Poor Jerry.
Yeah, Dave is such a Jerry, but you don't want to be.
You don't want to be
You don't
Jerry,
wanna be
but
Jerry.
Dave, you're such a
Oh,
such
fuck.
I've never
Jerry.
seen this show, so I don't know how offended I should be.
You should be pretty offended. Jerry sucks.
Really?
Jerry.
Oh,
Everyone hates Jerry.
Really? Who's the
In
most
He's
show,
popular?
very
I know.
funny.
He's very
Oh my
funny.
god,
Great
he's so
character.
funny.
Why do people hate him then?
He's just a bit of a dropkick.
Who's the most popular and best looking character on the show?
They don't really have those.
Okay,
No.
well, I'm not in it then, so thank you so
Maybe
much.
Summer, I guess. Summer's pretty funny.
Yeah, they're all very funny characters.
They're all good.
Yeah.
Well, Alan, it's you and me, buddy.
I think you'd enjoy the show, Dave. Although
Yeah.
maybe you wouldn't. It's
How about you give it a watch and let us know?
Thanks for putting that little asterisk there, Matt, to get yourself out of jail in case I don't like it.
I think you really would like it. It's a lot of meta
Very good
stuff, and
writing.
There's an episode it's like a heist movie spoof. Very fun. They're putting the team together, and there's a lot of it's all double crosses and stuff. You'd lap that one up, I reckon.
That one
but
sounds
you'd have
fun.
to
I'd
watch
be-
a bit to get to that.
I'd be the character, one of my favourite characters, Mr. Poopy Butthead.
Yeah.
All right, now you're talking.
Maybe I'd be Mr. Macy's.
All right.
Trying his best.
I would like to finally thank from Candler, North Carolina.
Poopy Butthole. I got it wrong. Poopy Butthole, sorry.
Don't add a.
Don't at me. They've already done it.
Great.
Butthole.
Thanks, Jess. That was a long enough distraction from North Carolina for me to move on and say I would like to thank from
Oh,
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Oh, my God.
No, he's saying the name. You can't now.
Teresa or Therese Lavalley. Oh, what a great
Therese
name.
Lavalley.
What about Therese or Teresa is in Powerpuff Girls? One of my favourite cartoons growing up. I loved it.
Yes. I loved, what was the blue one, Bubbles?
Bubbles, that was my favourite.
I loved Bubbles.
I never
She was
watched
so
it
sweet.
until finally watched it for Primates earlier this year. I think we did a Primates episode about it because the bad guy is
Mojo Jojo.
Mojo Jojo.
Mojo Jojo.
Yeah, that's a fun show though. It was real funny sort of
Oh,
stuff.
really, really funny. I like it a lot. So thank you so much to Teresa or Therese from Lavalley from Candler in undisclosed state in the United States of America.
Good save. What were the other Powerpuff Girls' names?
Buttercup
yes.
and Blossom.
That's right.
Buttercup was
Bubbles.
the badass green one, and
Yeah.
Blossom was the red leader.
Like pink? Yeah.
Or pink, yeah.
Man, that's a good show.
I'm going to give Zoe one last choice.
Oh my God.
What was that cartoon where there were like monsters and one of them held its eyes in its hands?
Oh, Are Real Monsters.
Are Real Monsters.
And that was Crumb.
Yeah, that's right.
That's another possible option there for you, Zoe. Jeez, I've given you some duds.
And
Sorry
Zoe
about
could
that,
be
Zoe.
Crumb, Ickis, or Oblina. What are the three characters? Man, I
That's
loved it. I
right.
loved it so much. I had
Or
a Crumb
Futurama.
toy.
Or Futurama, Zoe. You could be
Oh
be
my
Lena.
God.
Matt,
Why does Zoe get so many?
why are
Everybody
you-
else gets one.
Why are you panicking, Matt?
Stop playing favourites. Zoe loved the first
I
option.
think we should go back there and give everyone 5 options now, just in case.
Yeah.
Actually, let's redo every Patreon we've ever had.
We got to go back to the start. Oh, thanks so much for all your support, though. Amazing stuff from Eric, Dominic, Zoe, Kevin, Michael, Terry, Edie, Alan, and Therese.
Yes, but particularly we'd like to thank Zoe, of course.
All equally, you're all amazing, and we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. But that pretty much brings us to the end of the episode. How fun has Block been? We're past the halfway mark yet, and only the 2 biggest Block topics to come.
Absolutely
Yeah.
right.
We're having we've got some fun ideas for November to keep the fun going. So,
Well, speaking of fun, do we need to check if there's any members of the Triptych Club to be welcomed in?
of course, yes, I did have a brief look earlier, and there are 2 inductees into the Triptych Club this week. So, what are they? Who's playing the music? Dave picks the music for those new listeners. Jess figures out the cocktail and the hors d'oeuvres. I'm checking the names off the list.
Great. Well, he's got a new album out, but he's also playing his greatest hits, much appreciated, from John Bon Jovi.
Oh, John Bon himself.
Whoa.
Coming
Living on
down.
a prayer. On a steel horse he rides.
Whoa. Yeah, he's definitely
what do you
playing.
call that thing where you can, it's like a vocalizer or something. There's a tube that they sort of sing into and it electrifies it.
A vocoder,
Generated by
maybe?
Foo Fighters used it as well. Ow, wow, wow,
Yep,
wow.
I know what you're talking about, and I can't think of the name.
vocoder?
And it's
Is that what you're talking about?
Vocoder rings a bell, maybe. That was a thing that lasted not very long, maybe. Bring it back, rock and roll.
Yeah,
Bring back
due
the-
for a
whatever that is.
resurgence.
Okay, so John Bon in the corner, playing solo.
Yeah, playing solo.
What was his big solo hit? It was the one from Young Guns. It's probably my favourite song of his anyway. Bound for Glory. No, Bound for
I'm
Bound
not
for
sure.
Glory's Rose Tattoo. Doesn't matter. Blaze of Glory. Thank you. All right. And Jess, what do we got? What are we eating? What are we drinking?
Given Robin's love of partying, we've got beer and cocaine.
Oh, all right. I love
wow.
cocaine as an hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah.
These go around on silver trays, little limes.
Yeah.
That's a bit of fun. All right, so just 2 inductees this week. Dave's the hype man. I'll lift up the velvet rope, bring him in. Dave gives them a hype, and then Jess has started a new role of hyping up Dave's hyping.
All right.
Yes.
Feeling good. All right. And of course, I don't think we've explained, these are people that have supported us at the shout out level for 3 consecutive years. So that's how you get into this club. It's very exclusive. Only a few members at most each week get welcomed in. So here we go. Warming up the pipes.
Woo!
Okay.
Come on, Dave. Here we go.
That was a really important part to explain
Yeah,
what
yeah.
we're doing
Yeah.
this, Dave, that I forgot. Thank you so much. Firstly, from Old Meldrum in Aberdeenshire
Ooh.
in Great Britain,
This is going to be a good name.
you are not wrong. It is Grant Cheesewright.
Yes!
He ain't cheese wrong. He's cheese right.
Yes! Yes!
Oh.
Yes!
Welcome in, Cheese.
Great name, mate. Great name, honestly. I'm patting you on the back for that one.
If he's cheese right, well, I don't want to be cheese wrong. And secondly, from Melbourne, Victoria, in Australia, it is Georgia Cowling.
Oh. Sweet Georgia Cowling. All right.
Yes.
He's done it again. So welcome in, Grant Cheesewright and Georgia Cowling. A couple of fantastic names,
Thanks
as
so
always.
much, both of you. Legends. Absolute legends.
Grab yourself a line, have a beer, crack it open, let's party. Hey,
This
responsibly.
is safe. This is safe cocaine. though.
Yeah. And only do, we don't encourage it, do it in a responsible manner.
God, no, I don't encourage it at all.
We've
I'm just
got-
providing it.
We've got medics waiting if required.
This cocaine is essentially, I'll be honest, it's just ground up vitamins.
Okay.
Nice.
So people are just going to feel really good.
A placebo effect. And then
Total placebo effect. Yeah. If I can just say that as a disclaimer for anybody who's listening who's a cop
Oh, no.
yeah.
who was like ready to just rock up to my house and arrest me. Well, bet you feel stupid.
No, good point, Jess. And I should say this. If you are a narc, stop listening right now. This podcast is not for you.
We aren't
This is,
narc friendly.
yeah, we're narc unfriendly. No narcs allowed.
We have one.
I said we're allowed one.
No homers. But I think that does bring us to the end of the episode. Thank you so much, everyone, for giving us a crack if this is your first time or coming back for possibly your 260th time. We welcome all.
And snorting some crack if you've just got into the club.
That's right. We welcome you
Am I
all,
saying that
except narcs, of course. No narcs.
No narcs.
Vitamin crack. Ooh, this is vitamin crack. New product we've come up with. This could be big.
Real big. But yeah, you can get in contact with us at our website, dogoonpod.com, which links you to our Patreon, to the form where you can suggest a topic. So we'll shout out to you if you do that. Anyone can do that. Don't have to be a Patreon supporter. So that's open at all times to get into the hat. We've got an email, dogoonpod@gmail.com, and we are at dogoonpod on all the social medias. And we're also on YouTube. Got some live videos out. And also a web series. Whoa! We are across the mediums.
We're honestly, we've done so much. If you're not impressed by it, I don't know what you want from us.
We're trying really hard.
Okay. So what do you want? Do you want me to dance for you? I'll do it.
We are massive tryhards, if you didn't realise. I hope you're all
But no
having
narcs.
a fantastic block, apart from narcs, who should not be listening. Hope you're having the shittest block ever. As always, I want to know, what are you doing for block? That's the question on everyone's lips. Let us know what you're doing for block on those social medias that Dave mentioned. But yeah, boot at home, Davey boy.
Thanks so much for listening, everyone. And until next time, I'll say thank you and goodbye.
Later.
Bye.
This podcast is part of the Planet Broadcasting Network.
Visit planetbroadcasting.com for more podcasts from our great mates. I mean, if you want. It's up to you.